The Mayo Experience.
That Mayo Experience. That Mayo Experience. That Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by DraftKings 2021 Week 16 picks against the spread. Cust Corner Mini plus the free money bets of the week. And we're coming to you a day early because the games have not concluded on Tuesday as of yet, so I pushed the Jake and I ranking show into Wednesday. The best bet show with Rob and Cam will be on Thursday this week. Off day on Friday, and then on Christmas Day, the annual holiday tradition, a very custy Christmas. If you need to kill some time on Christmas, me, Gary, and Tim are back at it for the fourth consecutive year with a brand new Cust Corner. If you subscribe to the newsletter down in the description, maybe you can get it early. I don't know. Maybe the golf draft part 2 will be available to you early in the newsletter if you subscribe to the newsletter, because part 1 came out on Monday. There's 11 of us. If you're interested in golf whatsoever, highly recommend you check that out, as you should play in the One and Done, which is up on fantasygolfchampionships.com. All this information is available down in the description, as is the Pat Mayo Experience Listeners League. Because it's a holiday and I figure a lot of people aren't interested, it's down to 1,000 spots this week. So down from 3,000 to 1,000 to make sure that it fills, which means spots are going to be at a premium. So go reserve your spot right now. Smash a like, sub to the channel, time code us in the description. I want to bring in Geoff Fienberg. What's going on, man? You have just told us that you are going on vacation on Christmas Day, the best day to travel.
Yes. And now that I am playing it in my head and looking at the calendar, I'm actually flying on Sunday morning.
Will you arrive to your destination before the games start?
Yes. Yes, that is the plan. I also have, I pay for a subscription so I could listen to the radio feeds if I want. But
I'm not going to lie to you.
Hopefully it's stress-free.
I think you can do that through the DK Live app. I think they have a relationship with TuneIn that if you go into the DK Live app, hit the box score of a game, then boom, you can just press the audio feed.
Whatever. TuneIn is one of the 800 companies that just milks my bank account that I signed up for once and is still bleeding me here, Pat. But hey, Daniel Jeremiah does the Chargers radio call. I think he's one of the best in the business at just talking through situations. So I won't hate it. And they're playing Houston. So hopefully there's not a full COVID outbreak with the Chargers. And hopefully it's a little stress-free, or honestly, my vacation will be ruined. I'm going golfing, I think, the next day with Tour Picks, Joe Idoni. And I don't know. I'll just be in a horrible mood, period, if we lose to Houston. It'll ruin my week, period.
Yeah, nothing like being in a horrible mood because you get to play golf the last week of December. Sounds like a very unfortunate situation.
Yeah, if they lose to Houston, I'm gonna it's gonna take a lot to get me in a good place. So you're right. Maybe golf in Florida is that, but I don't know. Yeah, that's it. And I just made a reminder in my phone for 3 hours from now to register for the
One and Done.
I don't want to. Yeah, I was gonna give the good big fancy name, but I didn't want to screw that up. So yeah, the One and Done, because it will fill up, and I don't want to be on the outside.
Yeah, I think there's almost 1,000 spots.
Pat, is there any giveaway spots left? You could just throw me because I forgot to sign up after you told me 35 times.
I do have giveaways and free entries into the One and Done, but people need to watch the golf draft show, parts 1 or parts 2, or the show that you and I did, the intro to the season, which is coming out next week if people care to watch that. But if you want a free entry, you can try that out, or just get your spot so it's not full by the time, like Geoff said. I think there's 1,000 spots gone already. There's only 444, and people have yet to pay attention yet. So once that happens, I'd say it's going to fill pretty quickly. Filled 10 days early last time, so we made it bigger. But who knows? Maybe it fills even more. There's $1,000 One and Done you can play in too if you want to be a high roller. The Coin riding a heater from last week, because the week is still going, in studio with me, and he gave you 2 free money plays last week. The free money teaser hit. That's 2 weeks in a row for a free money teaser, but it came at the cost of his money line free money parlay in which every leg lost outright in the game. It is Tim Undercust.
Tim Andergust.
That is not my name. But look, for all those people who like to tail the exact opposite of what I pick, they got to win too. So I got to win, and they got to win, and everybody's happy. Yeah, the teaser is two straight weeks we're on. We're on sort of a heater here. December is a pretty decent time of year for these sorts of things. I feel like I'm hitting my stride as the season is coming to its end.
I played the opposite of your money line, and it was 12-1. So thank you, sir.
You're welcome. I mean, obviously, I wouldn't have had Cleveland anywhere near that had I known the predicament that was going to befall.
Well, how do you think they got into that predicament? Who was your super lock last week?
That's not my fault.
Oh, nothing's ever your fault.
No. Hold on, though.
No responsibility.
You can't take no responsibility because when we recorded last week, they were already at the beginnings of a COVID outbreak.
Yes, but
So you stepped in front of that COVID outbreak. Listen, I gave the Browns on the show last week. I thought, whatever, I'll lay 3 instead of 6. This sounds fine. But you made them your super lock full well, already knowing that there could be something really bad happening here.
In other words,
in front of that.
In other words, I didn't cause anything to happen. It was already brewing.
It seemed like it had stopped, and then you were like, Cleveland -3, super lock. And it's like, oh my God, positive tests just start going off. So completely your fault. People of Cleveland, I think you should tweet at Tim Anderson 87 and let him know that, I mean, Tim's buddy, the hero, Nick Mullins, was almost able to pull it off with like the C squad, but he just couldn't do it. So poor Nick Mullins. We all root for Nick Mullins on the show. He's a big fan of the show, very verified on Twitter. Nick Mullins, although Tim seems to think that he shouldn't be for some reason, despite the fact that he's an NFL quarterback, but Tim should be verified. Who knows? Recapping of the week, still 2 games to go as we do this. I'm 10-4. The coin is 11-3. Geoff is 5-9, and Cust is 7-7. That puts me 1 game back of Geoff for the overall lead going into these games, and it passes the coin. The coin has retaken the lead over you as of right now, Tim.
That's correct. Coin had a great week, but I still have two winners coming tonight, so that'll be fine.
Does the coin? Now, the coin is opposite. You have Philly. The coin has Washington. And what is the other game that's here? The Rams? Everyone has the Rams. So yeah, you can only make up one. Super Lock, right. I won again because I'm fire at Super Locks, apparently. 12-3 on the year with the Bengals covering the 2 points. Geoff Falls getting screwed by the Ravens in 2 consecutive weeks. He's now 9-6. Cust is 7-8. Maybe time to stop betting for or against the Ravens, Geoff.
Yeah, I don't know. They just keep being a thorn. Like, those are 2 games. You're kind of counting your money, especially on the line that I had last week when we recorded, the show before things got really hairy. And yeah, no, not so fast in Baltimore, which in and of itself, the Ravens have become like a lightning rod talking point, because so early in the year they were winning, but all the metrics showed that they didn't really deserve the wins or their record. And now they're kind of just maybe Waters sort of finding its level overall with their record. And shit's getting crazy, but I'm staying away now from Ravens, period.
With the win and the loss, Cuss is now 5-13 on the free money plays and 14-97 career. Tim, this is your best year ever on your free money plays, so congratulations.
I know, and we still have 3 weeks left, and I feel good about this week's teaser. So let's roll. Let's go.
All right, let's get in to the Thursday game. I've already bet on this game. San Francisco at Tennessee. Tennessee is a 3.5-point dog at home. The Niners are 7-7 against the spread. 8-6 for the Titans. 44.5 is the over/under. It's funny, after watching that Titans-Steelers game, the Steelers defense played really well, but Pittsburgh had no business winning that game. If Tannehill so rarely turns the ball over, like in general, then the Titans turned it over 3 times in 10 plays, and that was just the end of them. They were winning the game to that point, and they just got buried. Obviously, Julio Jones got hurt with the hamstring injury. A.J. Brown has been activated to return from injured reserve. I do not think that he plays in this game. I'm just going to keep it pretty easy. San Francisco at full strength against a battered Tennessee team. It feels like a really trappy line. San Francisco feels like the super square side of this game. I don't really care. I've already bet on the 49ers -3.5. I'll take San Francisco. Geoff.
I'll make it quick, I guess. I am with you. We are on that 49er bandwagon. I've sort of been saying for a few weeks, no fault of Les Titans, but they're just in a horrible way right now. And every sort of thing that went their way, maybe last year, the last couple years, is sort of starting to work against them in many ways. Health specifically to really key players. I don't know. I think they can be picked apart. I'll say this right now. I would be like rolling like a pig in shit if the Chargers drew that as a first round playoff game.
I don't think
they're full.
Yeah, because
Titans would crush them.
Tim's right.
I don't think Henry's going to be back.
I think he is.
Henry's 100% going to be back. They're going to be at 100% strength when they get to the playoffs. The Chargers are like the worst possible team for them because they can't tackle anybody. Geoff, that would be such a disaster, pal. Watching
what you're talking
them run
about.
on the Chargers, that is not the team you want to draw. No, not if you want to win.
I don't even think they're going to be healthy in the playoffs.
Well, that's a different. That's
and their secondary, they suck. I think they suck. Okay, and they're in a bad way, so they can. I'm not expecting them to be healthy. The Chargers, for all the weird things, they're getting healthier in many weird ways, and the Charger defensive metrics are going up probably exponentially, especially against the run at the moment.
Well, when the worst possible, you can only go up. You can't go down.
It is true. It is true. They have improved. They have improved mightily in the run.
But they don't need
department.
to be like the best in the league. They're like a really good ball striker who just needs to be like not be a horrible putter. If I'm making any sense there, like their offense can hopefully carry them. Anyway, I don't like Tennessee. They're in a bad spot. I don't mean to take this macro view of where the Titan season is going, even though I believe it's going down the shitter. And they're so lucky for what they pulled off earlier in the year to give them this comfort zone. It's funny. I was wrong because last week on the show, I kind of made the point that they are kind of playing for nothing and Pittsburgh's playing for everything. But the irony is when that game kicked off on Sunday, they could have been the 1 seed with a win.
Yeah.
So they gas can that. And now they're really behind in an ability to be a 1 seed. And they truly are playing for freaking nothing, people.
Nah, they could lose the division still.
They
have a 99% playoff probability. Like 97.
Yeah, they'll still make the playoffs, but I still think that they would want to be the 4 seed rather than be like the 7 seed.
Yeah, sure. They're just playing. They're playing for very little, and they're injured.
Yeah, by all accounts, based on the injury timelines for all these guys, Brown and Henry should be back for either week 17 next week or the playoffs. I would guess, or I guess week 18 or the playoffs.
Brown will for sure be back for the playoffs. I don't trust that Henry, like they're going to just get to the playoffs and give him 30 carries.
Oh, they most definitely will. They're not bringing him back not to ride Derrick Henry.
No, but I just mean there's no guarantee that he's healthy or even going to be close to 100%.
Sure, I would agree with you.
I love the Titans in this game. I think that's the side you've got to play here. This is that Rams-Titans game redux in a lot of ways. Everybody is going to be on the 49ers. But, I mean, look, we watched last week. If Atlanta could execute in the red zone, the Niners would not have covered, and they might not have won.
How many points did the Niners win by last week, by the way?
What did they win by? 20? And how many times did the Falcons stall inside the red zone? Multiple times.
So essentially your point is if Atlanta could convert inside the 10-yard line, which has been their biggest Achilles heel for the past 5 years, they'd have 2 Super Bowls and be like undefeated this year. Great point.
Well, again, I did not say that. I'm just saying the Niners, while I like them too, if you watched that game on Sunday, you did not come away from that game thinking, all right, Niners, they're rolling. They're like, God.
Actually, I did.
Yeah, so did I.
Exactly.
I did. I have a Super Bowl future on them, and I was like, this looks good. Another win. They didn't have Mitchell. They're getting healthier. I thought they were kind of, in many ways, like good Kyle Shanahan 49ers.
Well,
so
This is
I
the last
say
Thursday
this.
game of the year. This is a long travel for the last Thursday game. I expect the Titans to knock them out. Give me Tennessee.
All right, so Jeff and I both
I
on the
actually-
Niners. Jeff and I, we're both taking the Niners, right?
Yeah, see, this is a really weird one. Like, because the line did kind of balloon to the 49ers, but I don't think that was money, as more so as like the circumstances. And I do believe by the time we get to Thursday, a lot of people can be like, oh, I'll take Tennessee at home. Like,
I would think the other way. I think this line goes to like 4.5, 5.5, 6 by the time Thursday rolls around.
well, I don't know. I feel like it got to 4 and is already coming back down.
Oh, I didn't see it go to
But-
4. I've just seen it stall at 3.5 where it opened.
I don't think it can get much higher than 4.5 before huge money just comes in on the Titans.
I would probably
Titans
agree.
are such a sharp side. I just can't imagine the Niners can get much bigger than this.
I would probably agree with that. I will just say the 49ers, the style of play a healthy 49ers team it plays is literally the perfect type of offense per se. You want to Thursday night football can really change things and how you set yourself up for the week in preparations. But when your offensive strategy is what the 49ers strategy is, I think it's a lot easier to get into Thursday night.
I think that's actually a point that's really well taken, that you're not relying on like complex systems in terms of passing game and trying to insert new pieces. They have a lot of continuity at this point of the season, week to week. It's all the different running schemes and the different formations, and you can keep it on the ground and really take a lot of the unpredictability of deep passes or Jimmy G just completely out of the game. It feels like the Niners are the good version of the Titans right now.
Yes, and I was going to say literally
Healthy version.
that's what the Titans can and should be when they're healthy, and maybe for them, that's what they can be when it's really going to matter. But the irony is the 49ers are that team at the moment, and I think Tennessee in their current construct is incredibly flawed.
Okay, moving on to Saturday. 2 Saturday games once again. We got Cleveland at Green Bay kicking things off. A short week for the Browns, going Monday to Saturday. I mean, San Francisco is going Sunday to Thursday, so that's an even shorter week, so it's not that really big of a deal. Packers coming off a 1-point win, thus not covering and dropping to 11-3 on the year as 7.5-point favorites right now against the Browns, 5-8 against the spread. Looks like Baker will be back for this game. They should have most of their guys back for this game. Doesn't seem like enough points right now, to tell you the truth, because you want to talk about, I know they almost blew the game, but the Packers had the Ravens basically from the first play of the second quarter through halfway through the fourth quarter, basically beat them, like 31-3 or something like that? Like the Packers just
we saw the last week. Sorry, we saw the last 2 weeks why the Packers cannot win the Super Bowl, which is that they're so bad in special teams that they just cannot, unless they can get that fixed, they have no chance. And they're a very good team, but Dallas owns all the tiebreakers with them. So they've got to keep winning. They won't even have the bye. I expect them to just absolutely throttle Cleveland in this game. Cleveland doesn't have any of the skill position players to take advantage of what Green Bay does poorly. In 2 weeks when they play the Vikings, like the Vikings beat them already, the Vikings will probably beat them again because the Packers have some significant problems that teams who know them and can exploit them actually do take advantage of. And the Browns don't have that. The Browns are a dead team walking. Their season essentially ended yesterday when that field goal went through the uprights. They're 7-7. They're drawing to an inside straight, and I don't think they're going to catch. They're
Don't
done.
they still have 2 head-to-head games? Like their playoff probability is probably 25%.
Yeah, they need to win this game, and they need to beat.
So they're going to get a hurricane
15%.
punch. Like they're going to
According to
throw their
538
haymaker this
According
week.
to 538, they have a 15% chance to make the playoffs.
I'm more of a
they're done.
fan of the
They're done.
New York Times
System.
playoff tabulator, but I look at both. I'm always looking for the best number, I guess, to make me feel good about myself. But the
Anyway.
New York Times breaks it down in terms of like I think like the seeding you can get into also, like the probability. So it's just more in depth. So I guess that's the one I find.
Okay. Well,
Or
either
the
which way,
ESPN FPI one I like.
Anyway,
But yeah, Nate Silver's cool too.
If the Browns win out, they're fine because they probably win the division at that point. But that seems to be their best case. Like losing that game to the Raiders was just such a blow for them. And it depends on what happens with some of these other teams too that are right around like the 7-7 spot. Like it's Indy that doesn't have like the easiest schedule coming in, right? Or do they have the super easy schedule?
Oh, everyone in the AFC North has a hellaciously difficult schedule.
Browns have Packers, Steelers, Bengals. Like the Browns have, Packers, Steelers, Bengals. I believe
the Bengals have the Chiefs, and they have the Steelers, and they have the Ravens. Like there's no anyway.
And the Ravens have and the Ravens' extra game is the Rams in Week 16 next week.
Oh yeah, so wow.
Yeah, and the Steelers play the Chiefs this week. Like everybody's got tough draws, but like Cleveland is clearly of those four teams. Okay, they're certainly less talented than Baltimore, Cincinnati. You can make a case that maybe they're more skilled than Pittsburgh. Okay, if that's fine, but I don't know. I just think Cleveland is a done deal, and I don't see anybody going into Lambeau and winning that game when it's dark, and it's just that's a classic spot where I just think it's a very bad draw for the Browns. Got a bad draw. Things did not work out for them. That their game from Saturday had to get postponed because of coronavirus, and then they're sent back out into Green Bay. It's terrible circumstances. I feel bad for them, but they're done.
No, you don't.
Yeah, you hate them.
No, I don't want to see a team go out that way. I'd rather see them just go out being beaten as
you would just rather see Baker lose than Nick Mullins look great, or not great, but look very competitive.
Well, look, I would prefer to see Mayfield's last couple of games with the Browns be games he plays in, but whatever, it is what it is.
Were you surprised, Geoff, that this line didn't change after the Browns game on Monday? It just stayed 7.5.
That's the thing. I'm tempted to take Cleveland.
Me too.
Just thinking that we'll get a haymaker from them probably before they go back to lose a division game. They'll be ultra competitive this week, but I think I'm going to get more points the longer I hold out. And I'm surprised that I haven't gotten them yet, to be honest, especially after the Browns. I mean, Tim is right. Like, even if they get pieces back, the skill positions there are just, there's so much to be desired at the moment. Like it's pitiful, to be perfectly honest.
Well, the one thing that Green Bay doesn't really do all that great, they're a very good tackling team, but their run defense is not all that great. You can run on the Packers, and if the Browns have a chance in this game, it's going to be about running the ball 40 times, getting Chubb going. Kareem Hunt should be back. Like, their offensive line should be back as well. Like, they were missing 2 guys on Monday night. They should all be back by Saturday if they can all clear protocol and everything like that. So I think their running game will look a whole lot better than the depleted unit did against the Raiders. So I'm going to take Cleveland plus 7.5. I agree with you that this goes to probably 9.5 or 10 by the time Saturday. Once Saturday afternoon hits and it's Christmas Day and people are fucking sick of their families, people are like, "Man, let's bet on the Packers. That's free money." And then they lose outright or something.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Browns. I'm going to take the Browns as well here. Not like great confidence, but I don't know. I think you're going to get a max effort and a close loss.
Indy in Arizona is the late Saturday game. Arizona's favored by 1.5, coming off a loss to the Lions. 50 is the over-under. Both teams 9-5 against the spread. I can't recall, just off the top of my head, Tim, because you're better at this stuff. When was the last time that big of a favorite just got beat outright by like what is objectively a bottom 3 team in the league? Like by a lot, like actually blown out.
Minnesota Buffalo 3 years ago.
Yeah, the Josh. But in retrospect, that's not as bad because Josh Allen turned out to be really good.
But it was a rout by the spread.
It was. They were like 15-point underdogs in that game. But
they lost by like 20.
Yeah, but
that was the first.
Josh Allen played out of his mind in that game, though. That was the first game that was like, holy shit, like this guy could be good.
I don't know about the history on the spread, but I did see it was the first time ever a 1-win team defeated a team with
double digits.
I don't want to say as low as double digits, but it might have been like 11 or more. Like there was some threshold that win definitely accomplished.
So here's the thing. How do you not take Indy here? Did they play like an emotional Super Bowl last week? Rebound spot for the Cards. Everyone's now off the Cards. Everyone's on Indy, so just blindly take the Cardinals. Like I was thinking about that as well, but like just looking at the spread, looking at the game, looking at these two teams at the moment, like Indy just feels like the better team right now. because Arizona's defense has been trash essentially since JJ Watt was out for the season.
Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I feel like Arizona is sort of doing a second act to what we saw last year, except at least this year they put up enough wins to get into the playoffs. Like, they're leaking oil badly. Kyler doesn't look healthy. Hopkins is not coming back for a long time. They sort of look lost. They play terribly at home to begin with. I think they're 4-4 at home or something, or 4-3. Like, they have a very bad home record. The Colts have a little bit of extra time off. It's indoors. I like the Colts here. I like them so much I'm teasing them up. Sorry, I should have said the Packers were the first end of my teaser. It's a 5-team 6-point teaser. Both the Packers and the Colts are on that teaser. I just can't justify playing the Cardinals here. Now, this is obviously a great spot for Arizona to show the world that actually they should be respected and they are still capable of winning the division. But at this point, they're looking very much like a team that is going to go on the road in the first week in the playoffs and is going to lose pretty handily in the first round of the playoffs. At least that's what I'm seeing. And that's the way I'm picking this game.
Jeff, I'm going to take the Cardinals only because it's like the same thing with Green Bay. When after people are done, after Green Bay wins by 7 and doesn't cover and people lose all their money, they're going to have a Colts chaser against this Cardinals team. I think this line gets beat down to close to a pick 'em by the time kickoff actually happens. But I'll just say Arizona, rebound game for them. On paper, like, everything points to Indy to me, but I don't know. I'm starting to get, if I was an Indy fan, I'd start getting concerned about Wentz pretty soon if I wasn't already.
Yeah, that was concerning for Wentz. The advanced line on this game had to be like 3 or 4 points for Arizona, and I can't find it at the.
It may have been, but there's a lot of context clues that are missing from that as well, because the advanced line would have been out probably before the Monday night game against the Rams, which they lost. Then Hopkins got lost for the season. Then they lost to Detroit, and their defense looks like an absolute sieve. So justifiably, I don't think the advanced line is really telling us much about this game.
Well said in every regard, as it would have pertained to what that number would have been projected to be. The loss of Hopkins, hopefully Kyler can overcome this, because he just seems so lost. Like, the part of the playbook where it's like, I'm just going to keep the play alive and find Hopkins, and just come it to him. And Hopkins was so good at that. He could be running a curl. Kyler gets lost, and then he's like, just going deep or just running, across the field for him. Like, they have such good chemistry with that. Kyler's body language in that game, hyper concerning, like scary if you're watching that. That would be weird. It almost says a lot about, geez, you better, I don't know if it's, that game said more about like how hungry and kneecap biting the Lions are, or how just the Cardinals got, but I feel like this is a good team that's lost back-to-back football games. They were probably not as good as that record was before, but yeah, I'm going to buy the Cardinals at home here, who I want to say have had 2 embarrassing primetime losses at home, a Thursday to the Packers and that Ram game on Monday a couple weeks ago. So, I don't know. Better answer the bell at home in prime time, but all points to Indy, and I'm on the Indy wagon, but I like the Cardinals here.
Yeah, it just feels like a spot where, like I said, everyone bailed on the Cardinals, everyone's on the Colts, just kind of pivot, go to the other side, because you can make a compelling case for the Cardinals. If it just boils down to who has the far superior quarterback, the Cardinals are going to win that almost every single time against Carson Wentz, even if he's hurt.
And I get what Tim is saying as it pertains to the Cardinals. I just think it's a little unfair at this exact moment in time. Like, there's still a little too much time left for him to proclaim them like full on dead man walking. But, maybe you can make the case that it's very similar, different rosters totally, but like similar to what happened with Pittsburgh last year. Like, sometimes running out like the freight train is the worst thing that can possibly happen to you. Like a horse in a race, you're out of steam in some regards come the finish, and you're literally like sloppy meat come the playoffs, and someone's licking their lips to catch you. There's still 3 weeks left of football. So I'm not willing. And it's like so easy to say the Cardinals are done and they can't fix what their problems are. Like, that's ridiculous to me also to make that conclusion.
Looking at the rest of their schedule, like they're still leading this division. We don't know what the outcome of the Rams-Seahawks game is, but the Seahawks somehow beat the Rams, and all of a sudden they're just back up by a game in the division. They have a very tough schedule coming in, but they get the Seahawks in the final week of the season. You get the Cowboys next week. So a win here would really go a long way to not going onto the road in the first round of the playoffs. But things aren't looking great, but maybe in a good spot here. Kyler's got to start running again. And if he can't run, that limits both what you said about Kyler extending plays, finding guys down the field, doing whatever, and really getting bulk yardage that way, plus his running ability. But that also puts so much pressure on their run game, knowing like Kyler has, I think, 2 designed runs the past 2 weeks. Like he needs to be up around like 5 to 8 a game just to keep the defense honest, knowing like having Kyler as a pocket passer, he's fine, but he's not elite. When he can start using his mobility, running around, and then using his arm strength, all of a sudden, he's one of the best quarterbacks in football. They need to get back and just throw different looks at these defenses. And you do worry that Arizona's run defense is so bad that Jonathan Taylor literally carries the ball 30 times for 300 yards, and that's just the end of the game. That's really what we're hedging against here on Saturday. But that's the end of Saturday. Giants and Philly kick off Sunday. Philly's favored by 10.42 is the over-under. The Eagles have not played this week as we are recording the show. I'm expecting them to beat Washington, but who knows? Considering Washington, I still think has a completely battered defense at this point. Is Jake Fromm going to start this game? Is Mike Glennon going to start this game, Geoff?
I assume it would be Jake Fromm at this point. The fact that they let him play and he completed passes. I know that's what the barometer is. And with you, while discussing this game, I'm under the assumption the Eagles have defeated Gilbert, Godfrey, and the football teams on, before we've recorded here. Short turnaround for the Eagles. Hurts not being on the injury report at all going into the Week 15 game is pretty. Just sort of makes it easy for me to say I'm blindly going to take the Eagles here.
I'm blindly taking the Eagles too. Like I just don't know. I jumped off last week because both of you guys were on the Giants against the Cowboys, and I think Geoff, you and I had the Giants against Miami, and like there is no circumstance where the Giants should not have covered that game against Miami, yet they found some way to score 6 points, and it was like, oh my god, like they can't move the ball. Like Fromm completed passes against a prevent defense, Tim. Or like, are we really supposed to think, oh man, maybe they can score 20 this week? Like, give me a break.
Nope. I'll play. I mean, I wouldn't bet it. I wouldn't touch the game. Just why put this stress into your life? But I would lay the points with Philadelphia and will, and for the show's purposes.
All right, let's round to Philly. -10, even the coin getting in on this action. Here's the toughest game of the week. Rams at Vikings. Vikings are 3-point dogs at home. 49 is the over-under. In what world do the Vikings not cover 3 points at home against the Rams? Because they'll be winning by 21 at some point in this game. You know what's going to happen. Like, they'll look like crap. All of a sudden, they're a home dog, and like they're very competitive against one of the best teams in football. Just what they do.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm going to take the Vikings, too. They'll probably lose in the last week of the year to the Bears or something. Some heartbreak is still left to befall them. But I don't think it's here. I think, in fact, they have to win this game so that the heartache is that much more profound come the end of the season. Yeah, I'm with you here. Rams have a super short turnaround. It is a road dome, which I do like, but I don't think the Vikings should be getting 3 full points. I think this game should be closer to like 1 point or 1.5 points. So I think there's value on Minnesota here. And so I will just play them. I don't like a West Coast team playing that early slot. I don't like it. The super short rest coming off of what will be a pretty physical divisional game. Spot game. This is a classic Geoff Fienberg. Where's your spot games? And pick them. This has got to be a Viking spot game. So I'm going to take them.
I like the Vikings too, Geoff. I would wait until I think that the Rams kick the crap out of the Seahawks. So I would wait for the Rams to kick the crap out of the Seahawks and at least let this move to 3.5, if not 4, something like that.
Yeah, I will say I was fortunate enough to be on the side of the refs in the Viking Bears games, and I had the Vikings, but that was also one of those games, Pat, that we talk about, or I talk about often, and I think a lot of football fans like they ignore it when it happens. But I bet that game real money with the concept, like under the strategy of I'm going to put real money because the Bears don't have a secondary. And I like Kirk Cousins. I trust Kirk Cousins. He's no Aaron Rodgers if someone ever wanted to make that debate, but I trust Kirk Cousins and those Vikings receivers against those scrubs. And Cousins was abysmal. It was like 12 of 24 for 160, 1-1. It was embarrassing. And part of that is Zimmer. Part of it was, a lot of it was Cousins. But I want my bet. And I'm happy about it. But the game played out in no which way as to why I made the bet. Give me the Vikings here because everyone watched the Vikings look absolutely horrible on Monday Night Football. They should have lost to the Bears outright. And the Rams, as we suspect in this game, are going to look fantastic in front of everybody on TV on a Tuesday. So, yeah, that whole swervy-worvy thing. Although the Rams, with getting that win, there's blood in the water for them for whatever seeding they want. And things are really starting to turn around. So I do like Tim's row dome dynamic, especially for Sean McVay. And I bet you like Van Jefferson absolutely goes off in that dome.
And just road dome, whether it's picking spreads, talking about the NFL, or just you traveling somewhere, should always be taken into consideration because you don't want to be wearing no dome away from home because then you bring back something with you and then you got a lot of questions to answer for. So keep that in mind. New England is hosting Buffalo. They're 2.5-point favorites. What's the over-under here? 44 is the over-under in this game. Paul is standing up his mom to watch this game on the 26th to go watch it with pals. Poor Paul's mom loves the Bills so much. It's like Paul loves the Bills so much. Paul has been doing the advanced scouting in this, Tim, on the weather for this game, which I do think matters. Which I do think actually matters a lot. That apparently it doesn't seem like there's going to be a ton of precipitation or whatever it might be, or wind on either side of Sunday, including Sunday. So it'd be unlikely for that just to crop up out of nowhere. You can monitor that as the game goes along. But if it's going to be one of these 41-degree days and it's kind of sunny or maybe a bit overcast, it's cold but not too cold, not super windy, I think that's Bills football. Give me the Bills plus 2.5 on the road.
Well, I'm pulling up the weather forecast in Foxborough, Massachusetts right now, and they're calling for a few flurries and it to be 5 degrees Celsius. So, not the worst.
I feel like that's good. I feel like that's good Bills weather.
Yeah, a little bit of wind, 23 kilometers an hour. So not a ton of wind, but a little bit. Yeah, I love the Patriots here, I have to say. This is a playoff game for all intents and purposes. I mean, both teams are likely to make it, but the winner will essentially have the AFC East. If the Bills win, it becomes very hard for the Patriots to catch up, given the Bills' last two opponents being Atlanta and the Jets. And if the Patriots win, they have the full tiebreaker on the Patriots, and it's hard to imagine them losing enough in their last two. So this essentially is a playoff game for the division.
Jeff, do you know why the Bills have the tiebreaker against the Patriots?
No, I was going to ask, what gives the Bills the edge here?
Division record. The one loss to Mayo.
Who beat the Patriots in week 1?
Xavier Howard did.
Oh, and out of all your predictions at the beginning of the year, Tim, what is the only one standing that you have not yet got wrong?
That the Bills would not win the AFC East.
So they have to win this game. So that prediction can be wrong thanks to Tua.
Yeah, well, again, it was thanks to Xavier Howard at a terrible fumble. That's why Buffalo has the edge right now. The Bills, if they win this game, would have one loss in division. New England would have 2 losses to Buffalo and Miami. So that's why it's so critical. And this game is everything. The winner is going to win the division. The loser is going to be a wild card. I mean, Buffalo, because with the slightly worse record, could find themselves on the outside looking in, depending on how things break if they lose. But anyway, the Patriots here. Again, the Patriots are stronger and they're more physical. Buffalo is a softer team. Weather is better for them, sure, but I think that Belichick knows exactly what went wrong for them last Saturday, and they almost got it fully corrected in the game. I mean, they were coming back in that game and just sort of ran out of time. I expect this is the AFC East. It is a huge game, and the Patriots are involved. I'm sorry. My default and my DNA require me to pick the Patriots in this game, and I will not be deterred from that. It's got to be a Patriots win and a cover. It's got to be.
On Sunday, Tim, Zach Wilson threw the ball away, and Tim called it a ceiling incompletion from Zach Wilson.
Oh my God.
But
what does that have to do with this game?
Because
No,
I
but,
want,
like, in terms of what? Like the throw was good, or like the decision
He made
for the
2 or
next
3
down?
unbelievable moves to escape tackles and sacks, rolled out, and then didn't force the ball. He threw the ball away after he'd avoided a couple of sacks on the same play. I was like, I said to the guys in the room, like, this will not show up on the stat sheet. No one will see this in the highlights, but that is a ceiling mature play that he wasn't doing 2 months ago or 3 months ago. Another game without a pick. He was, he's maturing and playing better, and that was without a question like a ceiling incompletion. Like that's what you want to see.
So this is what Tim is looking at for rookie quarterbacks. What I saw from Mac Jones on Saturday evening was very poor first half, but the step up in the pocket pass to Hunter Henry for the touchdown was probably the best overall QB rookie play that I've seen this year. Like the pocket presence, buying yourself the time, stepping up and throwing the ball into a really tight window. It was a really incredible play. And I was like, I can see this a little bit now. I don't think that he has the overall gifts and the higher end of some of these other rookie quarterbacks, but I mean, his floor is just so much higher because he can do smart things like that where Zach Wilson just runs around in circles and throws the ball out of bounds. And then people have to say, man, what a play. Yeah, and I think he threw for negative air yards in the first half.
I don't think that's true. And also, I mean, he's had a couple of passes this year that are just extraordinary.
Yeah, but that's fine. So a guy can run to the sidelines and throw it back across his body across the field. Fantastic. They lose every freaking game. And with Mac Jones, they win the games, and then you see these plays that actually look like real plays. They're not broken down plays that force you to throw across your body. You just see what's happening in front of you, you process the information, you step up, make a quick decision, and throw an accurate ball. Like that's really all Tom Brady does his entire career. He's the master of doing that. And just to see Mac Jones be able to have that as a rookie is like, that's nice to have in your back pocket. I think that Josh Allen's going to be a bit too much in this game because whatever foot injury he has seems to be non-existent at this point. He's going to run. Maybe they finally found like fully committing to Singletary as your running back, I think only has to help them. Not that he's some great shakes, but rotating in like 4 separate guys, bringing Matt Breida in off the street. It feels like it throws their offense out of whack a little bit. At least now it feels like they're a little bit less predictable with the same guy back there all the time. But Geoff, you have not made a pick yet. Will you be taking the Bills?
So I will be that hamster going into that electronic fence looking to get that cheese on the Bills Patriots. Yeah, I'm just trying to get my money back. How do you put this? I have so much respect for the Patriots. I do. I don't want what I'm about to say to feel like I'm diminishing it, but I still feel like they are not as good as they appear to be in sort of a end of late October into early December run. Like, I don't believe they are that good. Maybe next year and the years ahead as they continue to, get better and add the perfect pieces, they'll find it. And Mac Jones, everything you just said about Mac Jones was perfect, Pat. The ability to just read and dissect and feel it and see it and step up and throw, and man, like you could just tell. And in another 3 starts, in another 17 starts, in another 32 starts, in that offense with that coaching is going to be a real problem. I'm just got to go back to the Bills here. I got to go back to it. I'll feel I don't really have a case. I just got to go back to it. I lost on them a couple Mondays ago. I'm happy to make the same mistake again with money.
All right. Paul, how are you feeling about this game? Bills win. Okay, easy game. Just listen to Paul. Bills fan, thinks Bills win. Good enough for me. Tampa Bay at Carolina. Carolina's a 10.5 point dog here. There's a chance Darnold starts for the Panthers, which I don't think I would have ever thought this, but that has to be an improvement over what Cam is doing at the moment. 44 is the over-under. Here's the issue. The Bucks are favored by 10.5 points. No Evans, no Godwin for the rest of the season, and no Leonard Fournette probably till the playoffs. Is this receiving core good enough without those guys? Brashad Perriman should be back this week, who missed the New Orleans game with the COVID issues. Is this receiving core good enough?
And Brown.
Well, yeah. Well, he's been out for fucking 7 weeks.
But he'll be back this week.
No, he's not eligible to come back till the 26th.
Which is this week.
Oh, yeah, it is, isn't it? Oh, shit.
He'll be back as well.
He's actually playing?
That's what, especially now. I mean, Evans is what, week to week, so probably doesn't play, but maybe he does, but probably doesn't. Yeah, absolutely. They're going to press him into service. Have to.
Do we know that his ankle's okay?
No, we don't. But
I think
I would imagine if he could possibly play, they're going to roll him out there to fill the spots.
So yeah, Brown, Perriman. You still have Gronk, which is great. Ronald Jones. I mean, Ronald Jones was good last year when Fournette didn't play. He averaged like 110 yards a game on the ground.
I have no earthly idea what to do with this game.
The Panthers are
because in one sense,
yeah,
but like the Bucks were in. I mean, as much as I liked the Saints last week against the number, like the Bucks were just in quicksand when their best receivers were out, and they're still going to be missing a ton of those pieces.
Yeah, but is it easier to adjust during the week
I don't know.
with Tyler Johnson and Scotty Miller and all these guys rather than be like, oh no, Mike Evans and Godwin are out and Fournette is out. We actually have no one on the sidelines anymore.
I honestly don't know. That's why I'm so torn.
The hardest game for me this week because I just
definitely the hardest. I've been
just
back
have
and
no idea. I don't know.
My comfort zone is to take a huge home dog in division, and so that is what I will end up doing.
And I will side with you on that, Tim. But I don't feel good about
Nope.
it at all, and the
Not
game
one bit.
just feels really awkward to me.
How have the Bucks been on the road this year in terms of covering spreads?
I'll look that up.
They're 6-0 at home overall. Let's see. At the Saints, they did not cover. At Washington, they lost outright.
They didn't cover.
They covered at the Colts by a few points. They covered at the Falcons. What else do we have here?
Probably covered at the Eagles. I don't know what the number in that game was.
They didn't cover at the Patriots. They didn't cover at the Rams. And I don't think that they covered against the Eagles. They only won that game by 6 points. I feel like that game would have had to have been more than 6 points at that point.
You could be right. Yeah, and they've got 2 road games left, so they still have a bunch of road games to play.
So they have not been all that good on the road, is really what I'm getting at so far this season, especially as it comes to being an ATS team. Now, can Carolina replicate the pressure that New Orleans was able to bring? I mean, based on the numbers, they have a very good pressure rate so far this season. Like, their defensive line can do some work here, and I think that with Gilmore and Chin, that they're able enough to limit. I mean, can you throw 3 guys at Gronk and 2 guys at Antonio Brown and be like, hey, try to beat us the rest of the way, Scotty Miller, see what happens? Maybe they can do that and cover this 10.5. I'm going to be with you guys, though. But this is going to be the game that we're looking at. We tune in on Sunday and be like, oh, good, Carolina's down 21-0. It's like, oh, yeah, should have seen that one coming. Because, like, can Carolina score points?
Oh, yeah, you're probably right. It'll be a complete one-sided game early, and the Bucks have a weird schedule left. It's Carolina, or I should say easy. Carolina, Jets, Carolina. What?
You know what? Maybe they'll have like whatever it is. Maybe they lose this week and they're just like, well, I guess we're not going to get the 1 seed. We'll just throw in the towel to the Jets. How about that? Would that be like winning the Super Bowl, Tim, if the Jets beat the Bucks next week?
No, it would not. I winning in week 18 and knocking the Bills out of the playoffs would be like a Super Bowl. But no. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to say in this game. I have no earthly idea what's going to happen. None.
Yeah, this game is not going to get. This game's not going to get my money. I'll tell you that. Jacksonville.
Sorry,
go ahead.
I just want to. If the Bills lose this week, will they miss the playoffs?
No, because they have the Jets and Atlanta left. Like, you presume they win those games. They're going to be.
Yeah,
done,
but
they're going to be.
they're at
Done.
8
Then they go to 10-7,
and then tie breaks come into play.
Yeah, but are the other teams like? Who else can really get to 10 wins without some sort of outrageous circumstance? Like we talked about, all the North teams have like the hardest fucking schedule in the world. Like
all the North teams haven't.
the Bengals and Ravens have the best chance at getting to 10 wins, but one of them would win the division, presumably, if they get to 10 wins. And the other one probably doesn't get to 10 wins because I think they play each other, don't they? They do.
Well, but there's also 2 other teams at 7-7.
I mean, the Dolphins could get in there, but the Dolphins easy part of their, like, the super soft part of their schedule is now over. Like, now these games
I'll
are,
say this, Tim.
it's not super difficult, but it's also not playing the Jets twice in 4 weeks kind of thing.
Like, the Broncos still have to play the Chargers, the Chiefs, and whoever they play this week, right? They're at 7-7.
Yeah.
If the Broncos or Raiders get in, I'm telling you, something horrible happened to my life. Like, we collapsed.
Like,
Yeah,
look,
I'm just saying I'd have to look. The Bills have a 76% chance to make the playoffs, so things are looking good. But if they lose this week, then they are falling to the mercy of tiebreakers with teams like
But
Miami.
if they lose this week, their 76 goes to like 60 or 58,
Probably
59, and that doesn't account for how easy their next 2 games are. So that probably indicates their tiebreakers are good enough.
quite possibly. But why put yourself?
And it probably accounts for that these North teams all play each other again. So there's at least 2 losses to 2 of those teams.
Yeah.
And I think they all play each other again, not each other again once, but like the Bengals play the Ravens this week. Then I think they play the Steelers in week 18. Like, I think each of the North teams have 2 games against each other, and all of their out of conference games are games where those teams are going to be underdogs in.
Yeah, it's an incredible schedule because you're right. All the out of conference or division games are against heavyweights, as we've kind of realized in looking at it. So let's have some fun.
Yeah, so basically the Bills, I think, would have to sweat the Raiders or Broncos would be the team that would come and catch them, unless someone in the North. And if someone in the North gets hot, like Pittsburgh is the biggest outlier in all of this. Like, if Pittsburgh gets to 10 wins, they're kind of fucked, I feel like, because it feels like someone else would get to 10 wins in the North, and then that could shove them aside. I still don't think that the Steelers are any good.
Pittsburgh has the tie, though.
Yeah,
So
Pittsburgh
10 wins would
Pittsburgh's
be
not
10,
in, exactly. Tiebreakers don't apply to Pittsburgh because they're tied. They'll either be a half game ahead or a half game behind whoever.
Sure, I meant with the tie, like that's their tiebreaker, that they would have
if they
fewer
get to 10
losses.
wins, they're 10-6 and they'll be 10-6 and 1.
I did not articulate that properly. With the tie, that puts them ahead. That's their tiebreaker, that they have fewer wins, that they would just be ahead of everyone. And that would also probably give them the division. Then the Bills would have to deal with Baltimore or Cincinnati more than likely at 10 wins and see how it stacks up that way. But I just feel like that's a very unlikely scenario.
I agree. But like if the Bills lose this week, I think there's going to be a panic set in. And I might be tempted to take Atlanta next week because of it.
Well, there's no team in football with a better point differential than the Buffalo Bills. The Patriots are actually second in that. The Bills have outscored their opponents by 151 points so far this season, which is just kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah, poor Bills.
Jacksonville at the Jets. Toilet bowl. Now that Detroit's good. Jets are favored, Tim, for the first time since week 4 of last year. You were bragging about it to us in our text thread. That's how pathetic you are. 41.5 is the over-under.
It's late December, and the Jets are favored in a football game. I can't be too upset about it. Favored against the Golden Boy, the great receiver,
hold on.
quarterback of all time.
I never said anything about being upset about it. You were telling us how good the Jets were because they were favored in a game.
Makes me happy. It's been a long time, as you mentioned. It's been a long time since the Jets have been favored in a ball game. This game to me is full of intrigue because I get to see the top 2 quarterbacks play, and we can stack them up against each other and rank them out and see who finishes better and who finishes worst. And also the loser has a real shot at the first pick in the draft because of the strength of schedule weakness that both teams have. So very interesting. Like there's a lot of, I would never want to call this game a hinge game, but like it sort of is in terms of like the consequences of it. Like the loser has got a real easy path to the top pick overall. And the winner obviously will have the team will be able to assert, look, my quarterback beat that quarterback. The stakes are as high as they could be for a game consisting of teams that have 4 combined wins this late in the year. So like the stakes obviously aren't very high, but they are as high as they could be given the context.
You know the Jets are 3-11, right?
We are 3-11. I'm sorry. So I forgot the Jags had 2 wins. I thought they had 1 win. You're right. They have 2 wins. Look, the Jets were frisky for a whole first half against the Eagles. Then they were pretty competitive for a whole game against the Dolphins, two teams that are like a 500 team and fighting for the playoffs. I've seen good things. Like Zach, I think, has the most passing yards of any rookie quarterback since week 8. He's been playing much better statistically in the last few weeks. He's not making the dumb mistakes that he had been making. Those are sort of getting worked out of the system. The offense is settling down a little bit. They still can't block, and that's devastating. And I mean, this Jaguars team does have I remember that game against Buffalo where their pass rush was unstoppable. So that does concern me. But I think the Jets get a W here at home. Yeah, give me the Jets -2.5. I like it.
I cashed a nice Jets bet last week, Geoff. Once it got to 10, I was like, let's go Jets. Jets, cover this 10. And they were able to do it thanks to Tua. And throwing a pick 6 to get them back into that game.
Worst pass I've seen a quarterback make all year. Given the context and the circumstances, you cannot throw a worse pass than what Tua threw there. It was delightful to see when the moment was big again. Tua
But he bounced back.
Yeah, they won the game. Like they bounced back immediately.
Bounce back effort.
He had to bounce back from his own
play.
mistake. Yeah, you had to bounce back from his own problem.
Yeah, but you
No,
hold on.
It's
How come when
setting
Zach
a house on fire
Wilson
and
does it?
extinguishing the
How
flame.
come when Zach
Say,
Wilson
"Oh,
does
good
it, he just throws another pick on the next play? You're like, oh well, it's not his fault.
The beauty of the bounce back is yes, it's acknowledged that something bad happened before it. And the road to seeing your quarterback or favorite player, golfer, athlete have a bounce back situation requires something bad to happen. Like no one wants their team to go down 17-0 in a game. But in the situation where your team goes down 2 scores and then your young quarterback comes back and leads them to victory, you take like a whoa, like that was extra special. Like he made a horrible play, a horrible pick 6, an embarrassing pick 6. Like I wish there was a video of you watching that pick 6. But then got the ball back and got the points back. And that like is in and of itself, it sucks he had the pick 6, but that created an opportunity to show that like wipe it off, bounce it back, march him, score, win the game. And he did it.
Tua career completion percentage is 67.1. That is the single highest percentage of any quarterback ever, Tim, through their first 20 games since 1950 with a minimum of 500 passing attempts.
Yeah, I bet you Miami's really happy that they passed on Justin Herbert and took Tua instead. I'm sure those numbers make them feel really good about themselves. Yeah, sure. Great. Play them next year,
Hold
too.
on. So let's just see, because my whole debate was Tua versus Herbert. Tim's was literally Tua versus every other quarterback in the league. And
Great.
yes, they might regret Tua versus Herbert, but that's my debate. And that debate doesn't need to be had anymore. Your debate is he can't even have a job. He can't start for anybody. He is horrible. And
It's great. Let the Dolphins waste this window they have when they're a half-decent team with a quarterback who's holding it. Great. Keep wasting it. It makes me delighted that they went 10-6 last year and didn't get to the playoffs. You're gonna go like 9-8 or 10-7 this year.
Does what he
Great.
do? Sorry,
Great.
If Zach Wilson is able to bounce back next year in the way Tua did this year, you would be doing freaking cartwheels that your body isn't even capable of doing.
Well, I am capable of a cartwheel, but anyway, we'll see. Tua's been not horrific, but he's still not good. And like liars can figure and figures can lie.
You're right,
These
but-
figures are lying.
Well, Geoff, right now, Tua is 8th in the league in QBR, a stat that Tim loves. And then we showed Tim that he's 8th in the league in QBR. He's like, well, something is wrong with that then. Now he doesn't believe QBR anymore, despite the fact that's what he always points out.
I think there's like a miss.
Zach Wilson is 35th.
Zach Darnold, Tim, can I tell you something? Darnold looked better than Zach as a rookie.
I mean, I would say that that's mostly true.
It is true.
Consider that Darnold had more weapons in his rookie year, and the
You
blocking
call
wasn't
what
as
about
bad.
the bomb squad?
Injured? The Jets are the second year in a row. I think the team in terms of man hours lost, the most injured team in football.
They're playing with they played with their running backs and all the receivers last week. What happened?
Not all of them. Corey Davis wasn't back.
Oh, I'm sorry. What
Elijah Moore didn't play.
What about the first 3 weeks of the season then?
Let me just say, well, we lost Becton in the second game. Like, we haven't had a healthy year.
So,
Next year,
when they have
you
Devontae
put
Adams, according to
on
you,
yes, Not just according to me, according to a lot of people.
You mean some
put
guy
Adam-
that you retweeted called Jets Twitter on Twitter?
You put Adams out there on one side, Davis on the other. You've got Moore in the slot, Michael Carter running the ball, Zach improving, a defense that's going to have 2 top-tier picks to put on the defense. This is going to be a very, 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 very special team next year. But not now. We're talking about them versus Jacksonville, and Jacksonville is somehow worse than the Jets, even though both teams are really bad this year.
I need to get this off my chest also on the other side. So I've never felt probably dumber in some time. I lost a lot on Jacksonville last week. And that is sort of like the equivalent, Pat, of let's just call it the equivalent of like betting money on Patrick Rogers. And then when it goes bad,
You're like,
you're
how
not
did
mad?
Yeah,
Like,
how
you're
did that
only
go
mad
bad?
at yourself. No, like you're like, I bet that. Like, I'm not mad at Jacksonville. Like when I bet on a good team and they don't execute, I'm like, you're too good. You gotta execute that, man. When you bet on Jacksonville and they don't execute, you're only allowed to be mad at yourself. Like I'm mad at myself. It was too much for them to overcome. Even the fact that game started with them like roughing a kicker after a 3-and-out to start, which leads to a touchdown. And then the next kick return, 8 Jags tackle themselves. Whatever. What an abysmal scene. But maybe a full week of preparation without like a midweek coaching change. Because that didn't happen on like a Sunday night, right? Like they're already mid-game plan installs, and that was dumb. But I probably do think they beat the Jets. Here's something that I got to say. Watched a lot of that game. They did something. Trevor Lawrence, it doesn't look right. Like the footwork is horrible. And I'm not calling this like an end game. And they're going to get someone in there, maybe a Byron Leftwich, which is the hot rumor. Like I have no doubt the talent is there, like we all assumed. They can fix this. But like, I don't know, the guy throws bounce passes on like 14-yard wide open receivers. And he doesn't get helped out. A lot of drops there, a lot of things going wrong. But his footwork, and I'm literally a slob on my couch. So I'm no like scout or evaluator. But you can just see like it looks so sloppy. His ability to step and throw, and what you gave Mac Jones so much credit for being able to do. I don't know. You Jason Kidd or you Trevor Lawrence, man?
Yeah, well, that's
bounce passes.
I mean, it's really out. I mean, what do we know about Trey Lance? Almost absolutely nothing. Fields seems like he's getting a lot better. Just that team absolutely reeks, and he's almost a one-man show at this point out there. But the difference between Mac Jones and the other 4 is that Mac Jones looks like he's in his 3rd year, and the other guys look like rookies. Like what we always thought rookies looked like. We got so blessed over the past like 3-4 years with rookies coming into the NFL. And from week 1, they looked like NFL players. These guys look like rookies from when we were growing up.
You're right. It's true.
So we'll see how they all do in year 2. But I'm going to take Jacksonville here. Jacksonville
Me too.
in points. Like 2 shit teams. Give me the points.
Yeah, me too.
Detroit and Atlanta. Atlanta's favored by 5.5 at DraftKings Sportsbook. 42.5 is the over-under. I am going to take Atlanta just under the simple premise that it's funny that and Tim, you listened to the Best Bet show last week with Kim, myself, and Pizzola, right? Yep. How I did the complete 180 on how much I liked Houston at the end of the week instead of Jacksonville, because it seemed like when the line first opened and it was like +4 Houston, that the world was going to bet Houston. And then all of a sudden, Urban Meyer gets fired. Then the world was going to bet Jacksonville. It's like, just take the other side. What random person is not betting the Lions +5.5 in this game? Give me Atlanta.
I understand that logic, and I appreciate it. Well, I'm going to tease the Lions up because I think there's a lot of value in getting through both 7 and 10 there to get it to 11.5. But I do see what you're saying. Atlanta certainly does seem like a square side. For as little handles probably come in on this game. Or sorry, the sharp side where the Lions are more square. And the Lions have done this a few times where we sort of think, oh, they're playing good. They're going to be a good pick this week. And they get absolutely thrashed. But I don't know. I just don't feel like Atlanta can do that to anybody right now. Maybe they can. Maybe I'm wrong. I feel like they did their best last week against the 49ers and just constantly kept coming up short. And Detroit seems ferocious and Atlanta seems timid, and all that combined makes me want to take Detroit. That's all.
The Goof is on the COVID list, by the way. He might not play.
I'm not so sure that David Blau or Tim Boyle aren't just as adequate.
David Blau.
I do like David Blau. Did the Jets grab David Blau as a backup once Mike White is traded for like a second or first round pick? Like, I'll be fine with David Blau backing up Zach if something bad happens. I feel like Blau could take over.
Hold on.
The season wouldn't be ruined.
If someone said, you've said so many crazy things, but nothing has stuck with me more that you said this year than when you said the Jets essentially have the next Breeze and Rivers on their roster.
I was getting excited, okay?
So if we look at, and this should have come into play when Atlanta was the 2.5-point dog to Carolina. I'm looking at Pro Football Focus's overall grades of team. Atlanta is 26th in football right now. Below them in the rankings are Carolina, the Giants, the Jets, the Jags, and the Texans. Pretty sure those are all of Atlanta's wins, except for a Saints game.
There? Or the Lions?
But they haven't played the Lions yet. The Lions are the fourth worst team in football, so they're actually below them on this list. And everything outside of that one random Saints victory that they have, they've only beaten teams lower than them on this list. So I think they beat them. And realistically, in a game with the Lions, what's the difference between 3.5 and 5.5?
I'm with you, Pat. It just seems so weird. That's like the biggest win for the Lions. There's got to be a come down a bit from that. And I expect they'll play a hard game. They'll probably be a hard out for, I think, Seattle in week 17. And I think they got another, it's Packers or Vikings in the last. And, I'm sure they'll try to bite someone's kneecap going into the playoffs, no doubt. But see, it's so weird because you're laying all these points and a lot's made fun of like certain teams in the league and what's home field worth. I am telling you, a game on Christmas Day in Atlanta versus the Detroit Lions, there'll be nobody there. Like, Atlanta's an abysmal home crowd, like only when the team is good. It's really a bad, situation. That's why they're the only team in the league that can literally sell like $2 hot dogs. Like, anyone else can sell $11 hot dogs because there's at least like an interest in going to the football games. So you're literally like not even paying for a single cent for a home field this week when you're laying that 5.5. I'm still laying it, but I'm just reminding the audience of how dumb I am.
Tim, who are you taking?
Detroit. Teasing them up too. They're the next part of the season.
And I knew it's not like, I don't know if I'm allowed to take credit for it, and we're probably not done yet. And I don't even know how bold of a claim it was, but I did guarantee Detroit would not get the number 1 pick. The funny thing is I guaranteed Houston would, but I guaranteed it wouldn't be Detroit.
Oh, next game. Chargers at Houston. Texans, 9-point home dogs. Chargers only 7-7 against the spread. Texans 6-8, 46 is the game total. Austin Eckler, I saw, is now on the COVID reserve list, Geoff. Does that mean he's out for this game, or did he not test positive? He's just like a close contact. I don't know. I can't make heads or tails about what's going on with this new policy.
Yeah, I'm not really sure, but Bosa's been ruled out because he's not vaccinated.
Oh,
and he
really?
might actually have COVID. But everyone else, they are claiming is day to day. Thankfully, they're playing the Texans, but this is alarming. I don't know. Keep Herbert in a bubble, keep him precious, and we should still be able to beat the Texans.
You hope so. It a lot like the Bills, and maybe this is just a bad. I have not gone back and looked at it, Tim, but it feels like the Chargers beat the crap out of really bad teams, just like the Bills do.
We only played the Giants, though. We don't really have that to go by.
Beat the crap out of them. Do you like Houston here, Tim?
No, I don't. I not enough to put them in or not to put the Chargers in any parlays or anything, because I am concerned of a potential outbreak. A person sort of has to be, don't they?
I am.
So,
Well,
What?
Keenan Allen should be fine, right?
Yes.
And Mike Williams, was he on the list earlier? Or like what? I remember, didn't they have this like 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, but those were a lot of close contacts. This
Oh.
now it's more concerning because
and who if Herbert went down, is it Chase Daniel who would take the snaps, Geoff, or would it be Easton Stick?
it's Chase Daniel. That is just like, we can envision a lot of things. Let's not go there until we have to, Tim.
What do you mean? You just envisioned it by saying we need to make sure we keep him 100% safe so that nothing happens to Herbert.
Yeah, but I don't want to role play what happens when he is.
Well, but if there were ever a game that would be okay to have a backup QB play, would probably be this one, right? Anyway, we'll take the Chargers. I don't have much confidence in it. It was a tough loss for the Chargers last week, gutting. We'll see what their medal is made of. Do they bounce back and crush the Texans, or do they win this super close? And does that game linger? I have no idea. This is a good gut check game for the Chargers. Let's see what they're made of. I'm very interested to see the result of this game. Very, very interesting.
Well, I don't know that doing something to Houston would prove anything, but let me tell you, the extra time would probably be beneficial. And I want you to know that that was probably the second greatest loss in Chargers history in some time.
Ceiling loss.
I mean, first place is still last year's game versus the Patriots. That was so bad. I knew it got Anthony Lynn fired. No ifs, buts, what ifs could then save the job. This was a game, Tim, that, as Sean O'Hare, former New York Giant, pointed out, reminded him in many ways of when the Giants and Patriots played late in a season before the Giants beat them in a Super Bowl. And it was, yes, the Chargers had beaten the Chiefs in week 3. But the Chiefs, to me, like, I still hold them in such a reverence, but now it's just like a respect level. The fear level, gone. I know we can beat them. Our locker room knows we can beat them. We lost the battle. But oh baby, it showed we can win a war. We can goddamn win a war. They are the team to beat. I am not going to mince about that. That is not even to be debated. But we split versus them, and we can beat them. And the Patriots, we lost to by 3 points. And 4th and Staley, I told you guys, I told you every time you let me talk about it in the offseason, you'll see what I am hearing. People watch these games. I don't know, like, maybe you're just this guy that watches primetime football, so you're like turned off sometimes by what Staley is doing. Nothing is a surprise to anybody who has listened to every word the man has said since he has taken the job. I told you, nerds, you were going to love him, and I know you do. Win, lose, or draw. There is a conviction now, and people are like, oh my God, the defense must be so mad at him. They let him down. No, you don't understand. This has been going on since the summer. There are daily conversations. The defense understands their responsibility. You don't think Staley has conversations? The defense knows we're going for it on 4th down. The defense knows they might have to be put back onto the football field. That's all part of it. That's not a surprise. That's not a surprise. We are coming for jugulars, and we are going to take them. And now, as I close this, I will say, sports books, before the season, friends, they were offering listen, the day after the Super Bowl, I bet the Chargers at 40-1 to win the Super Bowl. I got cut off. Okay? They went into the season at essentially 35-1. Today, DraftKings Sportsbook, you can get them 35-1. This is a team with a 75% to make the playoff probability. This is a team that plays Houston this week. Let's assume they beat Houston. I assume that playoff probability jumps 12 points, 12, 14 points in that to make the playoff probability. And to steal something from like golf fans, you know, when something we want to bet on, like, Are they going to win the Super Bowl? Probably not. But why do I want to bet on them? Because they got an ability to spike. They got an ability to spike. And that's why. And why should their Super Bowl number be the exact same as it was week 1? Why? Why? That's ridiculous to me. I re-upped.
I'm going to take Houston to cover this number, cover the 9. I can see there being more problems here, COVID-wise. Not one of my favorite games on the board, though.
No.
I scare about the COVID the same way I was a little boy at summer camp, overnight camp, and would sneak into the staff lounge to use the internet to find out if LaDainian made it through a day of training camp without getting hurt. Like I would go to bed as a kid, like saying a prayer, like I hope LaDainian's healthy tomorrow.
There is a television show, Young Geoff in overnight camp, riding a horse. Young Geoff at overnight camp, roughing it outdoors in the wilderness. Now there's a show I'd watch, Young Geoff in overnight camp.
The overnight camp I went to as a kid is now under scandal.
Oh dear.
Yeah, it's not. It's probably not something I should be promoting.
Okay, by the way, I don't know if this is a real story or not. Were you at overnight camp when you were 16 and 17 years old?
Yeah, I was a staff.
Oh,
great.
I thought you meant you were a kid.
You were like 7 years old trying to ride a horse.
But hold on, I was also but I wasn't 16 when we had LaDainian. Well, maybe I was. Yeah.
It was 2001 when he came into the league, right?
Yeah. But then when I became staff, I got to go to the staff lounge on lunch on my own and check for.
Imagining you assembling wood, trying to set a fire.
Tim, what do you
Where
think?
do you think I went?
Yeah, what do you think the Jewish summer camp is like?
What do you think?
Like Northern Ontario, sort of roughing it out in the middle of the woods.
Oh my God!
This camp is no, but I would just say so. Now the camp is under like things happen. Well, put it this way: the camp is under like scandal now, and people that like ran it when I were there have all had to resign because in recent years, long since I left, things came to light about
improprieties.
Yeah, improprieties going on there, some misconduct, and a whole light was shined on sort of like the sexual promiscuity hookup culture that this camp like accepted and cultivated. But I met my wife at this camp and we have a beautiful family. So if they want me to be like the face of like the good end of
they don't
hookup culture, then we can put us in a pamphlet or something.
They probably want to lean out of that now, I think. The overall point of this. Yeah, Tim, I don't think it's like into the wilderness alone style summer camp. Jeff probably had fucking golf lessons at his summer camp.
Okay, well, I'm imagining. Okay,
I also want to tell you other camps would make fun of like how easy and pathetic my camp's canoe trips were.
Why? Because you guys got to kick back and other people paddled the canoe for you or something?
No, we would do the paddling, but like we did like these small, tiny portages, and other people do like these week-long like canoe trips, and ours were like nothing. So yeah, no, I went to no, it wasn't a very roughing it sort of summer camp, and I never chopped wood.
That sounds like a Pat Mayo type of summer camp. I would have much more enjoyed that than going to chop wood with my grandfather, which was horrible.
Honestly, it's good times. Yeah, I don't want to. It was. Oh man, yeah.
If only fun. If only there was an adult summer camp that you could go to for 2 months of the summer. Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah. Now I think that's being able to send your kids away to summer.
Yeah.
camp.
Well, Paul says tree planting, but tree planting sounds super hard. I don't want to do that. I just want to kick back and like play horseshoes or something. Just basically be just 1 month of a year. Be like a retiree in Florida. Just live that life. That sounds excellent.
I don't remember how we got on that subject, but yeah, I'm worried. I'm fully worried about a bad outbreak. You saw what happened to the Rams, and LA is just apparently being overrun. And yeah, so the way Staley spoke yesterday was kind of like they're bracing for some more bad news, guys. Like that's just the vibe I got. And I want to point out, I got a Staley presser on the Monday, but I don't even want to count it as official because we played on Thursday and they didn't give me the Friday presser. So like a lot of people are showing me that the Chargers posted the Monday from yesterday, but I think that's just because like they take different connotations when you play on the Thursday, and they didn't give me the Friday. So I still didn't get it. Nonetheless, God forbid we lose this football game. God forbid. It'll change everything, including my trip.
Tim, what do you think goes on at summer camps?
I never got to go to one growing up, so I'm just speculating off of things like I've seen on television and read about, where I just assume people like live in like rustic quarters where it's bunk beds and like wood cabins, and like
well, that's true.
People are like learning how to start fires and horseback ride, and maybe play games like pick up baseball or basketball, and like learn how to do arts and crafts and go on nature hikes and do portages with their
He's
canoes.
not far off.
Like that's what I imagine. I imagine it's sort of like a real authentic roughing it thing.
Oh yeah, all those games of pick up basketball you play out in the wilderness.
Well, but particularly for people who've grown up living in cities their whole lives, like this is really quite a.
So I will say, because I went to this camp like a long time, like from 10 to then like being a staff. And when you're younger, it's pretty much everything Tim said, like everything Tim said it was. But then once you get to like 15, 14, 16, it's literally just like doing, your parents paid for you to go away and do nothing all day. And like, I don't really know what to say, but like, yeah, like, just hang out with girls and play pickup baseball and basketball.
Yeah,
like,
these summer camps,
what it became.
These summer camps only exist so parents can get their kids out of the house for 6 weeks.
I don't think that's actually the reason. I think it's so that kids have an opportunity to experience circumstance and surrounding that they otherwise don't get to experience.
Oh, Tim. Oh, Tim. If they were that concerned about it, they would do it with their fucking kids themselves.
No, I mean, but some people no, I actually don't agree with that. I think there's a camaraderie.
Just because you can't, most people can do this stuff. And you're very clearly not a parent is showing.
Well, but I've never alleged to be a parent. But these things were not created just so that parents could ship off their kids.
Oh, no. I'm sure that there are some that they are not created for, but that's the whole idea of summer camp. Sure, they can get whatever experience they want. I mean, that's really irrelevant. It's get the kids out of the fucking house for the first time in like 9 years so we can do something with our lives. That is the point of summer
it's
camp.
100% that, because you literally, like, honestly, in hindsight, like you look back at it and your parents literally just send you away to be taken care of by 18-year-olds who are like Goombas.
They're just
and like
fucking smoking joints.
I
the
became
entire
that
time.
18-year-old, and it's like, okay, guys, we have like this period next, but I'm just gonna go to the washroom and hit this Billy into a bounce tube, and we'll be right out. Me and your counselors have a great day planned. And at nighttime, we're just thinking about like what 18-year-old guys are thinking about, which is finding it and then ordering a pizza and sneaking it into camp. Like, but then you're like, our parents, it's like a never ending cycle, and they know they're just sending you off to be taken care of by irresponsible adolescents. So yeah, they just want you out of the house, and they hope, God forbid, nothing bad happens.
Yeah, that's they're playing like the minus 250 that nothing bad is going to happen at the summer camp. Being like, you know what? Those are acceptable odds for me. I just need a part of my life back. And I think that's where we're going to go. Ravens in Cincinnati. Geoff, do not bet on this game.
Oh,
because Cincinnati's favored by 2.5 at home. 44.5 is the over-under. The Bengals were my super lock, and they came through last week. Was not super impressed by them at Denver. Not exactly how I thought that game was going to go. Felt a lot better when Drew Lock came into the game, although Teddy wasn't playing well at all. I'd be like, oh, Drew Lock having to stage a comeback? Probably not going to happen. And it didn't, because Drew Lock is horrible. But we're getting Lamar back, I'm guessing, for this game, right?
I assume so. I mean, Huntley certainly has acquitted himself well in the games he's played, but I think Lamar makes a big difference here. I'm taking the Ravens. We're teasing the Ravens up to the fourth part of the tease. I think they take some of the stress out of it. I think it's going to be a close game either which way. At 2.5, you can make the case with it being close that there's no big difference between taking the Bengals and Ravens here. Just pick the team you think's going to win. I think the Ravens are going to win, so I'm going to take Baltimore.
I think that the Bengals are going to win this game. Cincinnati absolutely boat raced them the first time around, didn't they? In Baltimore? Am I misremembering
I mean, they
that?
definitely won.
I thought I thought they beat the crap out of them.
We'll take a look. I'll effort that.
Let's see. Cincinnati beat the Ravens 41-17.
Yeah, fair enough. Yes, they did. But I mean, it's a divisional game. That's unlikely to happen twice.
Sure.
And,
I mean, outside of it just seems like so far this year that I guess Cincinnati will play the Steelers again in Week 17. No, they didn't. They played the Steelers twice, didn't they? They beat them 41.
Yeah, they'll play.
Yeah.
They'll play the Browns.
For whatever reason, that their defense in division has been really good. So maybe just years and years and years of seeing these teams, and maybe these offenses aren't very good. But maybe your argument shouldn't be that people are worried about Tua versus Herbert. It should be Huntley and Tua. Maybe the Dolphins should have taken Huntley.
Huntley's playing very good football. But I mean, look, the Ravens last 3 weeks came on the wrong side of a coin flip 3 times in a row. Against Pittsburgh, against Cleveland when they had a chance to win, and then last week against the Packers. That's 3 straight games where things totally broke against them. I feel like the law of averages suggests that if they're in a close game, they should catch a break. And the Bengals still have lots of problems, and they did not dominate. And if there hadn't been a breakdown in coverage on that long play, then maybe the Broncos win that game outright. It's hard to say. I don't know.
Unfortunately for Baltimore, like I agree with you, the law of averages in a close game has to break their way, but the law of averages also say at some point they're not even going to be in a close game.
That's fair.
Like at some point, like the injuries and like it's just crazy what they've gone through and the fumes that they are running on and the bodies they've lost that just aren't, coming back. And there's really, who in the league could recover from what they've recovered from. I'm not saying I'm going to bet it for real, but I'll take. Oh, geez, I don't want to do it. I don't have a clue. Lamar's playing. We don't know.
We think so.
Give me the Ravens then. I was about to take the Bengals, but I'm going to take the Ravens. Hard game to pick.
All right.
I'll take the points.
So Ravens for the two of you, Cincinnati for myself, and the hot fire coin. That brings us to the midway point of the show, which means it's time for a Cust Corner mini.
Cust Corner, it's Cust Corner. Cust Corner, it's Cust Corner. He's got the hottest takes with the highest stakes. He should be president of the United States, but it's Cust Corner, it's Cust Corner. Cust Corner.
Okay, so I wanted to bring up something that I saw on the BBC last week. I was going to mention, but that didn't have a chance to bring up. And there was a story coming up. People have probably read about it by now. If they haven't, I'll inform them. There was a story being reported out of New Zealand that the government of New Zealand is going to be prohibiting the purchase of tobacco permanently for anybody 18 or younger, and then moving that prohibition age up and up and up and up until cigarettes are not legal to purchase. Now, I wanted to bring this topic up in part because I'm interested in hearing Pat wax on about it, because he has sort of a split on a lot of things. He likes to let people do sort of what they want, but he also likes when the government prohibits things from people that they consider unhealthy. So I think this is going to fail. I think it's inevitably going to fail. Prohibition always fails. It just develops a black market for it. And while there are certainly, obviously, it would be healthier for people not to smoke, but the idea that if we just make it illegal forever for anybody 18 and younger to ever purchase these, the result of it is not going to be...
Isn't it illegal for people under the age of 18 to purchase cigarettes now?
No, but like when they turn 19, they will not be allowed to purchase them.
Oh, so anyone 18 or under right now, that as soon as they become of age...
It's like grandfathering in a helmet in hockey.
But then even that age starts to roll back too.
So in this scenario, would I ever be able to not purchase cigarettes?
Yes. As I understand it, it would roll back in so many years that you wouldn't be able to either.
Okay. This is interesting. And I actually think this can work, especially in a place like New Zealand, because the population is so small. That the difference between banning something like cigarettes and banning something like alcohol is that the vast majority of people drink in some sort of capacity. Most people do not smoke, especially in just every year that moves forward, fewer and fewer and fewer and fewer people smoke, especially in what we would consider, especially let's say like even the Commonwealth countries by and large. And even in America too, like you see a huge decline because people know how bad smoking is for you. And this comes from someone who smokes. I love smoking. I wish I didn't smoke. And I think that if something like this was in place and I would have never started in the first place, and I wish that I hadn't started in the first place. Between, I don't know, like I have no problem with like weed being legalized because, I mean, it doesn't have the same health effects on you as cigarettes do. Like cigarettes are basically the worst thing that you can do to yourself. Like there's no reason for cigarettes to exist at all. I don't think. In terms of selling them to the public, where at least you can argue that. I mean, I don't know the specific details of it, but if you drink like a glass of wine a day, like there are health benefits to that. There's no health benefits to having a cig a day. I'll tell you that much.
Are there any health benefits to rum? If not, let's ban that too, I guess. Is there any health benefits to Big Macs? Well, maybe we should ban that too. Obesity rates are raising every single year, even though smoking rates are dropping. I'm saying, while I understand the push for it, I think it's going to do nothing but develop a black market. And the black market it's interesting. We're living in an era where things are being liberalized when it comes to drugs, when it comes to alcohol, when it comes to all kinds of stuff. But like tobacco is the one thing that people are cracking down on with a puritanical fervor. And it's like every time we try these crackdown things fail, but this time it won't. This time the most harsh crackdown imaginable is going to be efficacious. I don't think it will be. And I think there will be negative externalities to this type of action. And I also think it can open the door for bans of other things that, like you said, things don't need to exist. There's no need for a Big Mac to exist. So it's bad for people's health. And yeah, in moderation, it's fine. But there's too many people who are moderate. And we have single payer healthcare. So we've got to pay for your health if you're obese. So we should ban that too for anybody under the age of 10. So
but this isn't America doing it. America would never do this.
Well, but talking about us, or New Zealand, or any country. It seems like
I'm looking at it right now. 9% of the population in New Zealand smokes, and it's not a big population to begin with. No. I feel like that they could get away with doing this because it feels like people would be on board for this. And when you went to different places around the world, they would not be on board for this. But if that's something that they want to do, I would think that it only helps public health.
No one's disputing that it doesn't help public health, but public health is not the only game in town here for a self-governing society.
What do you care about what New Zealand does? Why is that your problem?
Most certainly not my problem. And I think it's a very fascinating case study to see how an English-speaking Western democracy handles this prohibition. But we have a boatload of history to suggest it is going to flounder and is not going to work. And it could cause some really negative consequences with black markets and organized crime. That are those actually worth the cost? I'm not so sure that they are. And I'm not so sure we want to be encouraging the state to be eliminating people's liberties, even if they are self-injurious. I mean, we are living in a society where doctor-assisted death is become legalized, and where marijuana has become legalized, and where alcohol prohibition on sales on Sundays has been done away with. We are moving inextricably, it seems, in a more libertine direction. But on this one thing, we're going to completely snap the other way. It seems paradoxical, and I don't think it can work. And so I was fascinated to have the conversation because I think it's a very interesting piece.
I think when you target something like cigarettes, I just feel like the vast majority of like far closer to like looking at it now, like 9% of the people, like only around 14% of the people smoke in the United States. It's just a really galvanizing thing that people can get on board with. That there are so many people that don't smoke anymore because smoking has become less and less prevalent among all, like from the oldest generation when cigarettes became mass produced to now, that there's going to be there's an underground economy of cigarettes right now. I know people that go buy bags of cigarettes because they're cheaper. Sure, cigarettes are super expensive right now. And they tend, I mean, by and large, when you look at the demographics, that the poorer you are, the more likely you are to smoke. And that drains a lot of the funds that come out of your bank. So if you can put this in place now, I can see why they're going to do it. I bet you it works in New Zealand. I don't think it would work here. I don't think it would work in America. I think it might work in New Zealand.
I don't know. I think it's contrary to human nature. These prohibitions always seem to
Well, then,
wreck on the
if you want that, we should legalize all drugs.
Well, doesn't it feel like we are moving more towards that direction than against it? Like,
No.
does anybody think that we're moving? It does seem like we are moving towards a more liberalization.
No,
towards
what will end up happening is that there'll be a decriminalization of doing the drugs. So even if you if you get caught smoking a cigarette in New Zealand, is it decriminalized? Do you go to jail for that, for possession of cigarettes? Or will it be like if what is it in Portugal, that all drugs are basically like legalized? I don't think you can just go to the store and buy cocaine. But if you get caught doing cocaine, you don't go to jail. You go to like a rehabilitation program.
I just think that we should be very cautious when we withdraw people.
But we aren't doing anything. New Zealand is doing something. Why, why do you care?
Well, this is a Commonwealth country, much like our own.
You don't live there. You live fucking halfway across the world.
Well, listen, that's certainly true. But if it is as successful as you say, then that can be a potential cause for the abridgments of rights in a country such as this. It's possible. We should always be vigilant about people's liberties being curtailed permanently, which is what this would be. It's certainly something we should not take without great caution.
I think it makes perfect sense. And Tim, you even seem I don't think the grandfathering in is going to eliminate people from getting it as they're older. Like someone our age, I believe in New Zealand, will probably be able to buy cigarettes until they're, say, 90. But I think the grandfathering in makes perfect sense. And I don't even think those kids would care about it, because as Pat has pointed out and was clearly obvious, is like the amount of kids that smoke, like the progress that has been made in the anti-smoking crusade is probably as successful as anything maybe in the history of time, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, it feels like the rates of everything else bad for you have gone up over the past 75 years. And I mean, smoking is just the one that you can pick on that they want to get rid of it. They'd love to get rid of all of this stuff, but populations will not demand that. Populations like doing things.
Too many of us like going to McDonald's.
Yeah.
But there's not enough people that will fight for the smokers' right, I think.
Well, it's not even for those rights. It's just the idea that it's been so successful with an educational campaign that I think if you wanted to really continue to curb and reduce smoking, I think further education and further promotion would be far more effective than blanket permanent prohibitions.
You're probably right. The trajectory that it's going on to keep instituting that in much the same way that all of our kids are, like, just the concept of like recycling, like, and non-smoking, like they've kind of gone in like different directions, right? We're teaching it, we're making it fundamental, where by the time they get to that age, it's not even a thing. Like, I mean, maybe call me naive. Maybe there's a whole team of kids smoking behind the high school right now. There probably are, but I don't know. You're right. It seems like the progress that has been made, why do anything to stop that like consistent progress that will probably get to a very, if like Pat says is 14% now, I'm sure it's only a matter of a decade before we're at like 6%.
It
Why
might
stop that?
I mean, it's probably not a decade before it gets to 6%.
So like 2 decades. But
it
sure.
is. But I feel like they probably feel like they're at the critical point right now where they can just, like, because that's the overall population that smokes. If you have a population under 18 and the like percentage of people who smoke is like 0.5%, like what's the harm of doing it if no one's buying the stuff anyway? I think that's how they feel about it, and then it's just gone. And then no one really has to deal with something that the main purpose is to just give you cancer.
You're right. So you're right. They're at a threshold where so few people, where they would have the public support. And you're right. The threshold that we can now literally eradicate it if we take this step. I'm interested.
It would only feel like it would work in places with small populations too, because there would still be, whether or not, let's say in the States, if you have 330 million people and like even let's say it gets down to 10% of people smoke, still 33 million people that smoke. You're really putting a lot of people out on this one. And you will have enough voices that come up, and there's enough people tied in government to like tobacco lobbies that, maybe they can start paying off a few people here and there to get a few votes their way. If you have a shot to do this, you probably end up trying to take it, especially if there's very little pushback in certain things like this. So if the time to do it is now, the time to do it is now. I mean, I'm not against it, to be perfectly honest with you. I'd have to quit smoking, obviously, if it came. Actually, I wouldn't, because I would still be grandfathered in. I would like to quit smoking, but it's just the difference between smoking and something like, let's say, fast food is just that the level of addictive properties in cigarettes versus fast food can't even really be measured on the same scale. Like, they're both bad for you, but you could eat fast food in moderation. No one smokes in moderation. That doesn't happen. Like, everyone who is the weekend smoker, they just end up becoming smokers.
But I'm saying I don't think prohibitions work. We have a ton of evidence to suggest prohibitions are not very effective.
Well, besides the alcohol prohibition in the 20s, what other prohibitions in like the last 100 years can you point to?
I would say the prohibitions on marijuana use were so ineffective that the government had to turn around and legalize it.
Well, was there a prohibition? Wasn't it just always, it had never been legal, had it?
Well, for the longest time, there were no laws on it one way or the other because it just wasn't a part of culture. And then when it developed, the laws were passed against it as a narcotic. And those prohibitions were not effective. When are prohibitions effective? They tend not to be. You look back in when it comes to religious prohibitions against celebrations and various sort of puritanical things in the 17th century, those prohibitions.
Was there a prohibition on it, or was it just like a Nancy Reagan say no to drugs campaign that was, I guess, history showed didn't work at all and was just mocked, I guess, right?
But no, there were legal consequences for it. It was prohibited. You couldn't legally sell it. The same, like I said, you can go back to the 16th, 17th, 18th century to see all kinds of things that were prohibited. Those prohibitions didn't work. They just defueled an underground or a black market. And so I'm just saying you need to be very careful about these things because black markets and organized crime will swoop in to fill in the gaps. And then I'm not so sure if you're not just substituting one set of problems for another.
It won't even be close to the amount of people purchasing cigarettes on the black market versus purchasing cigarettes right now. Like I said, the black market of cigarettes already exists.
Right, but you don't think it would hyperdrive it? Of course it would.
I was in a 7-Eleven yesterday, and a woman was haggling with the price of her carton, and it was a really depressing scene to be witnessing, I tell you.
I mean, they're instead of like, especially here, and I mean, whenever I go to New York or I go to California, it's kind of the same way. California, not so bad because they'll still give you a few deals in certain places inside the state, but New York is like very expensive to buy cigarettes. When Paul moved here from Ontario to Nova Scotia, the price of cigarettes in Nova Scotia is like $20 a pack. It's outrageous. Like instead of making. Basically, they've jacked up the prices so much that they thought that would quell the amount of people smoking. But since people are addicted to it, they're just spending more money on it at the moment. So you can try out whatever you want. I think once you get to that critical point of it tipping back over and people not doing it anymore, it's probably a good thing to get rid of. It really has no benefit to society. Like none whatsoever. At least with weed, you can consider it in the same ballpark as like alcohol. Like a lot of people stopped drinking and started smoking weed. Like no one's.
Yeah, no, that's true. But again, like liberty in and of itself is a value.
Haven't we seen like the past 5 years? That's not like people are fine with giving up a few liberties.
Some people are, but that doesn't. Yeah, but I mean, there were degrees of sacrificing your liberty. I mean,
and one is banning cigarettes. That's it. That's where you're planting the flag.
Well, I'm saying a permanent ban of a substance like that might actually be something to plant a flag on as a matter of principle.
You just love cigs too much. I think that's a problem.
No, I don't think that's true. I don't like alcohol that much. If they banned alcohol tomorrow permanently again, it wouldn't affect my life very much. I would be as ardently opposed to it as I am this.
All right, I might cut this Cust Corner. This one's not very funny.
It's not about. This wasn't supposed to be a funny one.
They're all funny ones. They're supposed to be funny.
You sort of did a funny thing.
People would rather hear about how your dinner at your dad's was after the Dolphins.
We didn't have a dinner. As soon as I walk in the door, he started playing that stupid snowman with the Dolphins theme song, and I yelled and left, and I had to leave and not be in the room anymore. I couldn't be around it.
You got triggered by a snowman?
The snowman sings the Dolphins touchdown song when you push the button.
What's the
He's got a Dolphin.
What's the Dolphins touchdown song?
Miami Dolphins,
Yeah, exactly.
Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins #1.
Yeah, so
Like,
you can push a button and the snowman shakes back and forth and sings that song. And so as soon as I walk in the house, he pushes that button. I was like, all right.
And when you're talking Dolphins, you're talking Super Bowl. We are the Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins #1.
Yes, I couldn't take that. I walked in, heard that, and it was like the SpongeBob meme. It was like, I'm out of here, sort of thing. I'm gonna head out. That's what happened.
Your dad knows how to repel you, also, I guess. Like, I don't want to have dinner with Tim. I'll just play the snowman when he walks in the door.
Yeah, I was like, nope, I don't need this. Goodbye.
I thought you were made from tough fiber.
I am, but I was like, I don't need to. I just spent the last several hours listening to how great the Dolphins are and how they're gonna win the Super Bowl.
No one, you spent that day with me, and no one said that. So now you're just making stuff up.
No, that was said from our Dolphins fan.
You mean when the Jets scored a touchdown and you wagged your finger in his face and then he slapped you and then you complained that you bruised really easily and then you complained that he hit you?
Paper skin, I bruised from stuff like that.
Yeah, you were just being fucking annoying the entire time.
Anyway, then I came home, had to deal with the snowman. And I was like, you know what? I just don't need this. And then I went home and I watched the games sort of like by myself quietly.
You retired to your millennial loft because people were too mean to you?
I settled to my my easy chair and had a bit of a nap.
Because people were too mean to you out in the outside world?
I just don't need to hear about the Dolphins constantly. Oh, Dolphins.
You bring it on yourself. All you do is talk about the Dolphins. You go on to Dolphins Reddit.
You say you're on Dolphins Reddit. You say you spend Saturday afternoons playoff machining how they'll their fate. So it's you.
I can't help it.
You want it. You're addicted to it. All you actually want to hear about is the Dolphins, it sounds like.
Yeah, well, you know what? I hope the Dolphins are banned. That'd be nice. There's a
Dolphins, and guess what? You get the treat of the Dolphins getting the illustrious position of playing a nice primetime game this week and getting spoken about and broken down. And Tua's going to be praised so much by Greasy and Riddick, right?
Oh, yeah, and if he makes a mistake, none of the mistakes will be his. You can be sure about that.
You're going to lose to Tua and Trevor Lawrence in back-to-back weeks. And then
Thanks, Geoff. No, we're not. We're not losing this week. Not happening.
But then what?
Then I'll be really upset.
You're upset already.
That's like you can acknowledge that's really bad for your brand, right?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, but his brand is losing. His brand is being sad and pathetic. This would only enhance his brand, I think.
No, but the two guys he's harder on than anybody, Tua and Lawrence. He plays in back-to-back weeks.
I mean, I don't think Trevor Lawrence has thrown a touchdown in 8 weeks or something like that. Something outrageous. This would be the week he throws for 500 yards and 6 touchdowns.
So, Pat, are we making an alternate Lawrence 3 touchdown prop this week?
Oh, yeah. 100%.
I'm going to make a note to look for Lawrence touchdown props.
Oh, this is one that I wanted to bring up. I threw this to you guys a little bit a few weeks ago. And I want to get the wording of this right. What is the most devastating sports injury you can remember in your lifetime? And I don't mean the most vicious, hard to look at, Joe Theismann type of injury. I meant to you personally. Someone you loved got hurt and they were just never the same. Because I feel like there's one answer to this for me that's not even close to anything else. And then I really have to rack my brain for the rest of them. What did you guys come up with? Do you want me to give you mine?
I think I would pick Ken Griffey Jr.
That was mine.
Yeah, that was always mine. Lindros, too.
Love Lindros. I hated Lindros so much.
Oh, I liked him.
The worst. The Nutlow. Nutlow Lindros. Oh, yeah, that's great. I'm 6'7" and I play junior hockey. I'm awesome. Yeah, give me a break.
He did the Eli Manning before the Eli Manning was a thing, refusing to go to the Nordiques.
That's true. And then the Nordiques moved.
Yeah, but he did that. People don't remember. He did that in the OHL. he refused to go to Sault Ste. Marie, I believe, and he demanded a trade, or they had to trade him to Oshawa. Like, he'd been calling his shot before even that. But they got Forsberg. That's right.
They got
That's a
more.
good trade.
They got more than that. They got a bunch of. They got Forsberg. They got someone else too. Wasn't it Sundin?
Like
they ended up
Sandis
getting?
Ozalinch or something.
I thought they got Sundin in that deal too.
No, I don't think
Sundin was the Nordique's own first overall pick.
Was he?
Also. Yeah.
Eric Lindros.
Have that rookie card.
Trade. Maybe it was like Mike Ricci. May have been one of the guys they ended up.
Yeah,
getting
they got
back
a
in that.
full slew and picks. Yeah, it set them up.
I mean, the most personally devastating injury was in 2008 when Brett Favre got hurt against the Seahawks, because I think the Jets would have won the Super Bowl that year.
See, I would say for Tim,
it's better that he got hurt so you could pretend like they would have won the Super Bowl. Like, you count
made a lot-
in your crazy mind, you count that as a Super Bowl in your mind.
No, I don't. I count it as a year that we should have won the Super Bowl. There's been a couple of those in past years, but that's one of them.
So, Geoff, to the Philadelphia Flyers was Eric Lindros. To the Nordiques was Peter Forsberg, Mike Ricci, Chris Simon, Ron Hextall, Steve
Duchesne.
Was it Duchesne? Is that how? That doesn't spell Duchesne, does it?
Oh, then
Is it?
Maybe it is.
S?
Does he spell it? Does Steve Duchesne, did he spell his last name really bizarrely?
Does it end SE?
Yeah, SNE.
Yeah.
All right, so they got Steve Duchesne. Kerry Huffman, 2 first-round picks, and $15 million.
wow.
And they won what, like 2 cups because of it?
Well, I would say for Tim, like, isn't the most devastating injury he's been a part of was his very own New York Jets member Mo Lewis ending Drew Bledsoe's career, which changed, career, that I misspeak, changing the course of history right there, right?
Yeah,
I mean, that's
always
the
felt
one.
Like, even if that hadn't happened, Brady was good enough that he would have taken over for that team sooner or later. It hastened it, but it didn't. Like, it wasn't like the thing that if that had not happened, then Brady would never have played, and they would. I don't know.
But it doesn't happen that year. There is no tuck rule. There is no like 9/11 year Super Bowl versus the Rams, and it just I don't know.
It definitely does change things, but it's not like Brady wouldn't still have found a way to start for that team and win. I mean, if people forget the next year, they didn't even make the playoffs. So he would have taken over probably by 2003 regardless. But yeah, that's a fair point, but I think it's always been a bit overdone.
I guess Tiger's injuries you'd have to put up there, but it wasn't like one thing. It was a bunch of different things, wasn't it? Like, you had the knee injury, then you had the car crash, then you had another injury, then you had like a back surgery, and then you had another car crash. Like, it's been a rough go for Tiger on the injury front, but he keeps coming back is the thing. Never like peak Tiger levels. Maybe he did come back and win a Masters, so it worked out from that. I'm just trying to think of some other ones. Willis McGahee, I like back when I watched college in that national title game, like, I thought he was going to be like the next Barry Sanders, the way that he was being talked about. I was a kid at the time. He probably wouldn't have worked out that way, although he was still pretty good in the pros. Yep. But like watching his knee bend the other way, like knowing that was his last college football game too, was pretty devastating.
But he got lucky because it would never happen today. He still ended up being like 21st overall.
Oh yeah,
in the 20s by the Bills. You would never get that break today off the injury. I think also Drew Brees. The Chargers are 7-8. It's a meaningless week 17 game, and the Broncos sack him hard. He gets sandwiched. He tears up that shoulder, and the concept of the Chargers franchise tagging him goes out the window, and he fails a physical for the Dolphins. And I think that is one of the laziest reframings in the history of sport, but it can get written however, the winner wants to write it. Tom Benson was moving that team. Like, the New Orleans Saints, when Drew Brees signed there, when Sean Payton took that job, that was Siberia in NFL terms. It was Siberia. Like, they were trying to move to San Antonio. That is the truth. They wanted no point with that team or with that market or any part of it. And Katrina made it impossible to leave. Like, you can't leave now. You just whatever. And how that all just formulated into them being now just a such a pronounced place within the National Football League. And a tentpole stadium city, that event that gets all its primetime games and regular rotation Super Bowl.
I guess the other two would be
to rotate it back the other way. I would say Kevin Durant not being able to play at all in the NBA Finals gave the Raptors a championship.
Yeah, but there's a whole bunch of stuff like that. Guys who can't play in a game. Kevin Durant came back and was like the best player in basketball again. It didn't really affect him. Like his career wasn't significantly altered because of it. Like when we look back, even if he never wins another championship, he's going to have 2 instead of 3. Like no big deal. I'd say Anthony Kim would be one because he disappeared off the face of the earth to collect his insurance money. He can't play again. Mark Pryor would be the other one because Mark Pryor felt like he was going to be amazing, and he was, but just every year it was something else, and he could never sustain it at all. Yeah. And it felt like he was going to be the best pitcher of our generation.
I've got one.
Hit me.
Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig.
That he died at a young age because he wasn't wrestling.
No, that he got hurt. And I guess the thing you said about Anthony Kim, he took some crazy Lloyds of London. It's like this famous wrestling story. Like he took some insane injury settlement.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Swear to God.
Huh.
He effed up his back. He took some insane injury settlement, and I think it was never worth getting back in the ring again.
I mean, we missed.
I had written down here Grant Hill when he hurt his ankle.
Oh yeah,
that's a really good one.
Yeah, he was the
he got that infection afterwards, and just his career just was kind of over, even though it wasn't technically over. That was it for him.
He made a nice comeback with the Suns as like a role guy for a few years.
Sure. But like he wasn't one of the best 2 or 3 players in basketball, which he was.
I don't know if there's an injury, and the story isn't like really done yet, but it's crazy. Like or you just chalk it up to football 101, but Odell in many regards, like how crazy that career started and how just trouble he's had getting any traction since.
Now, do we think that's necessarily 100% injury related, or was that just a confluence of circumstances of, he maybe thought he was a bit better than he was, ego driven, injury driven, bad teammate driven towards the end of guys getting him the ball over the past 4 years or so?
Maybe
it feels like a lot of different
being
things.
a little overrated because of a highlight, like of changes perception also a bit, right?
And I think that he caught 25 touchdowns his first 2 years in the league, and a lot of them were huge highlight reel type catches. So yeah, I think that he just may have been a bit overrated, but I think Justin Jefferson now, like after Odell and maybe like Randy Moss, maybe like is now at the point where he's having the 2 best opening years of his career of any receiver ever. We'll see where it goes from here, but normally, yeah, the stark drop off for Odell. Because Odell on the Rams is kind of looking a bit Odell-y. He's just older now, and obviously just not going to be the same. But do we really think he was limited by injuries, or was it a whole bunch of different things? Because he got hurt, 3 times in 3 years?
It's a mixture of things. Having been a bit overrated, plus injuries, plus bad team circumstances.
Plus going to an overrated quarterback, Tim wants to say too, right?
Well, there's no doubt about that. He'll tell you. Ask him.
His dad will tell you about it too. I'm trying to think of other ones. Justin Morneau is a bad one. Like he won AL MVP and then he got a concussion and he was never the same.
Yeah, that happened here in Toronto. He slid into John McDonald's leg and never.
My least favorite Blue Jay of all time, Johnny Mack. Oh God, I hate.
I'll say from a Charger perspective, Kevin Mawai, that cheap SOB Tim's familiar with, but I don't know that he was a cheap SOB in the Jets, but that was a Jeff Fisher tactical thing. Blew out every single piece of Sean Merriman's leg, and it never happened again for him.
Yeah, but that led to him being on the challenge and then me interviewing him about the challenge on Radio Row at the Super Bowl. So I feel like that all really worked out for him.
Yeah, I guess, but he was on some electric run, and then everything inside the knee got blown out because of a low blow by Jeff Fisher's coaching.
All right, well, let's jump back into the games here. Chicago is at Seattle. Seattle's favored by 7. Obviously, they have not played on Tuesday as we record this. 44 is the over-under. How much do you think this number could change if, let me give you circumstance number 1. Seattle loses by 30 to the Rams. What does this number go to, do you think, Geoff?
See, this is a really weird one, Pat, because we got two teams that will have played on Monday night. And you can almost say, like, in combination of what would the number be if the Bears just even covered, right? Like they should have, let alone maybe have won the last game. But if Seattle gets absolutely annihilated on Monday, then you're probably going, you're definitely going to get a couple more here. I don't doubt it one bit, because I think the one thing that most eyeballs are going to take, it's like this disdain for the Bears and Nagy, but something you acknowledged earlier, Pat, that Fields might be feeling it and playing with confidence that gives you maybe confidence to back the Bears at this moment.
Okay, Tim, what happens if Seattle wins by 4 against the Rams? What does this number go to?
It might go up a touch more, but it's already on a key number, so I don't think it's going up a whole lot. Maybe 7.5, maybe.
I mean, if it goes off of 7, why wouldn't it just go to 9.5?
It might. I don't know that there'll be enough steam on Seattle at that point. I like the Seahawks either way. I'm sort of just betting against the Bears. They seem like somehow they're in a worse circumstance than Seattle. It's a terrible game. I hope I don't watch very much of it at all. I don't have much to say about it. I'll play Seattle, but I don't want to be involved.
You're probably going to have to watch a bunch of it because there's only 3 late games on this week. And I worry that Pittsburgh, Kansas City is not going to be the most entertaining game in the world. I'm going to take Chicago here. I just think Seattle's defense is too bad that Fields is going to be able to utilize his mobility and arm strength and just score some cheap points against them. And to cover the 7, I'll wait and see. Like if it drops to 6, I still like the 6. If it goes up to 9.5, even better. Something like that. So I will take Fields and the Bears on the road in Seattle, Geoff.
I feel like I'm going to join you here, Pat. I don't know. The Bears, their last 3 losses, Vikings, Packers, Cardinals. You know, they barely beat the Lions. They barely lose to the Ravens. For all the shit show, it does seem like they're still a compete level. For how everything looks like it's going to wrap up in Seattle this year on an extra short week, I'm going to take these points here with Chicago. I do anticipate, though, Pat, I think it would be then week 17, Seattle home to Detroit.
No,
that's going to be like a Russell.
Yeah, because there's
a Russell Wilson 4 touchdown. My last home game in Seattle, like farewell party blowout, though. Like I'm telling you right now, I'm going to smash Seattle next week. I don't care what happens to any games this week. It'll be his last home game. He's going to go out huge, but not this one.
All right, so the Bears for everyone except for Tim. Denver and Vegas. Vegas is favored by 1.5 at home. 42.5 is the over-under. The loser's done, right? We can call them out of the playoffs?
Yeah, there's no way 9 and 8 can get in, I don't think.
Since there is
impossible.
It's possible, but it's very unlikely, I would say, at this point in time. We're thinking, are we thinking that Drew Lock starts for the Broncos? Or like Teddy left the hospital, like he's okay. I don't know if he'll pass concussion protocol, but I can assure you, as bad as kind of Teddy has been this year, I would feel far more comfortable with the Broncos if he was the starting quarterback and not awful Drew Lock.
I get it, but I'm going to pick the Broncos anyway because I'm just continuing to successfully or unsuccessfully pick against Las Vegas. I don't like this team. I don't know how they keep winning games. They have lost a bunch recently, except for the Thanksgiving game and the one there yesterday, but not impressive in either. I don't like them. I think they're not a 7-7 team, but they have a 7-7 record. And I think the Broncos defensively anyway can clamp them down big time. I like the Broncos here. And the Broncos almost made the teaser. They didn't make the teaser, but they almost did. That's how much I like them.
Oh, you see these teams all the time. I saw, Geoff, you were on Twitter saying that Bradley Chubb should be like kicked out of football forever. I'm sorry. You said he should be suspended multiple games. So then I went and looked at the Chargers schedule just to make sure that lined up properly.
I didn't even notice that.
Oh yeah. Sure you didn't.
No, that was really dirty. That was disgusting.
It was super dirty. It was awful.
Like even when you look at it again, like you could tell there was a clear intent to do something bad, like up until the very last moment, like a very disturbing clip. And I'm a big Bradley Chubb guy, like, well, a fan of his talent, clearly, like many.
You're as big of a Bradley Chubb guy as Farva is a Union guy in Super Troopers. You know I'm a Union guy.
Okay, so who would we say in a good way was the most surprising teams in football this year? Like, does Arizona make that? Or
I would say
like,
Cincinnati has to be the answer.
Cincinnati.
It makes sense when you retroactively look back at it, but if you go hear about the conversations that were had about Cincinnati, it's like, oh man, this team could be really good next year. Like if they can go like, if they can get to 6 wins and compete with some of these North teams, like we could see Burrow take a leap and just all of a sudden they're good. Like they're probably the best team in that division.
And Cincinnati probably has a chance to have the best win projection differential probably too, right? Like positive differential.
I would think so, yeah.
Arizona,
The Eagles have a chance at that too.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the Eagles were a 6.5 win. Like I think that was their over under.
No, they could, but their schedule getting to 10 wins is very reasonable.
That's good because when we did the preview show, I picked them to win the division. They need Dallas to lose out.
That's probably not going to happen, but they could definitely be one of the wild card teams.
Both of these teams in some way have surprised me, but I guess I shouldn't be surprised. Like Denver, as the season was arriving, was getting a lot of steam. And then, it started with that easy schedule. Shit, this is a real hard game for me. Give me Denver. I hate it, but I also maybe subconsciously just don't want them. Like Chargers play them next week. Would I rather them off 2 losses and done or still fighting? I know I think Denver wins. I think Denver beats the Raiders. Raiders more fumes. Drew Lock could actually attack a Gus Bradley defense. I'll tell you why. Sadly, I've seen it.
Oh, man. I'm going to go with Denver as well. I do worry that, again, we even saw it against the Browns, and obviously they weren't at full capacity, especially on the offensive line. But they were able to get into the backfield and just harass everything that Cleveland was doing. I don't think that they're going to have a problem doing that against, I'm going to switch. I'm going to go to Vegas. I think Vegas can keep the total low here, and I think they can squeak out a win. Special teams. The kicking game for the Vegas Raiders, not so shabby. Get them back indoors. I think it's a good situation for them. It's a coin flip game. It's not going to be getting any real money for me, but I'll take Vegas as a part of the pick'em.
And full credit to Fangio. He's sort of seen what he's been able to do. He's made life difficult for Mahomes, which is in and of itself its own amazing accomplishment. But guys like Burrow and Herbert have had their way against almost everybody this year. And they play Denver, and they just look like the 16th best quarterback in football when they play Vic Fangio.
Pittsburgh and Kansas City. Kansas City's favored by 9.5 points. 47 is the over-under. What would you imagine that the differentiation between, like, how many people are going to bet, percentage-wise, bet on the Chiefs versus the Steelers at this spread number? Because if it's anywhere not 90-10 on the Chiefs, then I'm taking the Chiefs.
Yeah, but like the Steelers just keep winning these games somehow, or covering in these games. Like despite having nothing and being nothing, they just keep doing it.
They didn't cover versus the Vikings, despite the mental concept that
game was within 8 points. They almost came back to.
No, I know. Like your mental, would think they did, but they actually didn't.
As far as I'm concerned, because of the massive comeback they rallied. I'm going to take the Steelers down. This is something I never do. This is very unusual. I'm picking the Steelers against the spread, but I'm taking the Chiefs down on the teaser, and I'm going to try to play it that way because I was trying to find one last team for this teaser that I liked, and there was nothing out there that I was into, and so I'll tease the Chiefs down, but I'll take the Steelers against the spread.
I'm taking the Chiefs against the spread. I am going to my grave thinking that Pittsburgh is just god awful. And they seem like they're god awful, yet they somehow win games. This team is the Chiefs are too good here. Like they have to have a statement game, and they have yet to do it. But their defense does look a lot better. And frankly, even if you have an incompetent defense, it's probably good enough against the Steelers' offense at this point.
You would
I
think.
take offense to that. One of that they last week wasn't a statement. What do you mean? Oh,
no,
like an absolute ass whipping.
Yes,
what do you mean?
like a Chiefs win, like the Raiders game was like a,
but not versus the Raiders.
But not versus the Raiders, yeah, because they can.
Yeah, okay.
This would be
okay. Sorry.
Oh, see, like Kansas City comes out and wins 42-7 against Pittsburgh. Like, it's just a joke
against
from
a
the
team that's playing the proper like two shell defense against.
Yeah,
them,
against a real defense.
The only team committed to playing the one single high safety, subsequently giving up 100 points in 2 games.
Yes, correct. The worst. I mean, they don't have the worst coverage in the league, but the Steelers are bottom 6. They're in between Jacksonville and Atlanta in terms of how good they are at covering in the passing game. Just feel like this is going to be all Hill, all Kelsey, all the time. And maybe the Steelers can score some garbage time points. But
Kelsey's probably not going to play, right? I mean, at least I would presume he's not playing.
Who's not playing?
Who?
Kelsey's probably not going to play, right? He's on the COVID list.
I didn't see that. When did that happen?
He went on like
yesterday.
Yeah, he has plenty of time with these new rules, as long as he's not positive.
But he may be. I would presume at this point, if somebody is in those protocols, they're not playing.
Yeah, if he breathed on the Chargers last week. Oh, that was embarrassing tackling. But I will say, in the hindsight, remember I spoke about the Chargers being a spike team. Did you guys see the with or without Derwin James stats with Kelsey last week?
No.
Derwin James on the field, 22 snaps, Kelsey 1 catch, 14 yards. Without Derwin James on the field, 30 snaps, 9 catches, 177 yards, 2 touchdowns. Everything I say about Derwin James is goddamn true. Stay healthy. I love you. Please, God.
What you need to do is just get him on like HGH or steroids. Take the 4 game he's gonna miss 4 games anyway. So just get him on like stuff that will make him progressively healthier and stay healthier throughout the course of the playoffs. Like if he misses weeks 8 to 12, who cares? Maybe he won't even get caught, and then you're in a best case scenario.
I like this. With all the distractions of COVID testing, maybe they're not even having guys piss in cups at the moment, Pat.
There we are. Let's get him healthy. Get that HGH into him.
Oh, okay. I went to find that tweet only to see one of Tim the Baptiste right under it. Are we still talking about Denver? Or no, I like Kansas City here. I agree. Pittsburgh played Tennessee last week, and I was like, I hate both these teams. I think both these teams suck. Both these teams can get exposed by teams that can play them properly. And you saw what Kirk Cousins did to the Steelers. You saw what Herbert did to the Steelers. Like, obviously, Mahomes should have his way. I mean, granted, the Steelers probably are a lot healthier on defense at the moment, but yeah, I am sort of leaning to Pat's thought that you're right. Like, Kansas City's probably good for a spike game. And Andy Reid said he's angry they're the 1 seed. He liked his team hungry.
I can't believe that they're the 1 seed after the way that everyone
Tim cursed them.
Tim cursed them
and
exactly.
then wanted to victory lap.
Tim victory lapped them, and then all of a sudden they haven't lost since. He wanted that credit. Here's your credit, Tim. They're the 1 seed. They currently have the bye.
They are the 1 seed. They have a really good chance to be the 1 seed, and they're not the Chiefs they were of a couple years ago or last year, and very beatable in the playoffs.
Maybe
that is true, but they're still the 1 seed.
But they're building. It feels like they're building towards being the Chiefs from those years. Maybe, honest to God, they were just like, let's just not try till the end of the year.
Maybe
no, you go to 3 straight AFC title games, 2 straight Super Bowls. It's September. Said this for like a while now. It's no different than what the Patriots experienced.
It was Halloween. They were 3-4, and then they beat the Giants barely to go to 4-4. And that's when people were talking about it. It was like the year was half over. It wasn't like the start of it. But anyway,
4-4.
That's half the season.
And they were 4-4, and it seemed like they weren't trying.
It honestly puts like how crazy the media bubble is, or the noise of the NFL is, into perspective. Like, Joe Burrow loses 2 games in a row. Justin Herbert loses 2 games in a row. Like, they're not what we thought they were. They're not what they thought we were. We have to like reevaluate them. Oh my God. Patrick Mahomes, who's accomplished everything, loses 2 games in a row, and people are losing their minds. And I meant to make that point in reverse order, saying like, obviously when Mahomes loses, if people are going to freak out by Mahomes losing 2 in a row, then obviously like other people who we presume to be good young players like Burrow, Herbert, Allen, whoever lose 2 in a row, then by right, the media also has to claim that they're like figured out and in big trouble. So weird. So weird.
I think it just turns out that like the top 8 or so teams in the AFC are just very close to being as good as each other. And that's why you don't see, and for a while, the Patriots were clearly playing better than everyone else. Maybe they go back to that. Now the Chiefs are just kind of playing a little bit better than everyone else. They've won 7 in a row. So it's kind of interesting in that way. Washington and Dallas. Dallas is favored by 10.5 against Washington. This is where I thought that the game would come out a few weeks ago when Washington was getting the crap kicked out of them in Washington by Dallas. Then all of a sudden, they're just back in the game. Dak throwing picks. It was a weird situation. Dallas just keeps continuing to cover spreads. I think it's them and Green Bay are the 2 best teams against the spread so far this season. Like, these huge numbers don't really bother me. And what's best case scenario for Washington in this game? They get all their regular guys back who are no good anyway? Give me Dallas, minus 10.5.
I'm going to take Dallas as well, Pat, because I just think there has to be a concerted effort. They're playing for a lot with how the conference is shaking out and their ability to win. But you can make the case like Dak hasn't played very well, like hasn't had a complete game in some time. And I think there's going to be an absolute effort to get him rolling right now, this time of year. Washington and their injuries are going to pay. I think this game starts like the last one and doesn't finish like the last one they played.
Tim is responding to stuff in real time on Twitter that just says, a simple question with infinite possible answers. What's the last time you remember being happy? And he put out that when Tua threw that pick. Tim, you live a sad life.
I don't know why you're monitoring my tweets and live talk.
I have TweetDeck open. It just popped up on the screen. I was like, aren't we doing a show right now? Tim's too busy tweeting?
Anyway.
That was really the last time you were happy? It's been 2 days.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm getting sad because today is the last day of the year where it gets a little darker every day. Starting tomorrow, it starts getting a little lighter every day. And that makes me feel blue. Like I kind of get the idea that we're done with getting darker every day just really puts me in a bad mood. I don't know. We
haven't even hit the most depressing like seasonal part of the year, which is what they call like February. Or
when it starts to get lighter a little bit every day. I agree. It's annoying. I'm going to take the football team in this game just because Dallas continues to be unimpressive to me. Yeah, they covered last week. They had to dodge 4 downs from the 11th or 12 yard line to do it. They got very lucky 2 weeks ago into Washington to really cover that game. They're trying to give it away. I don't know. Something's wrong with Dallas. Pretty much since Thanksgiving, like there's something not quite clicking. I don't quite know what it is. They're a very good team, but they're not quite playing as well as they ought to be. And this is sort of like Washington's last stand. If they lose this week, 6-8 still would only put them a game out of the playoffs. So like their whole season's on the line. They hate Dallas. I think it's enough to keep it close on Sunday night. So I'll take Washington.
Miami and New Orleans. Tua in primetime. I saw that Will Smith made a visit to Miami to get a jersey from Tua because he loves Tua so much. Maybe Tua's a Scientologist and we just don't know it. -3. This game is for the Saints in New Orleans. This is difficult because
the first real team Miami's played in a month and a half.
The first real defense that they've played. And I could see, I mean, New Orleans defense it's been a problem in like half the games that they've played. And like they've been like locked down really good. And then like they play Atlanta and they're like god awful. Like, what is going on with this defense? It really depends who shows up on their injury report and who doesn't, like whether or not they're at full strength. They should have their 3 offensive linemen back they were missing against the Bucs on Sunday night. That has to be good news for Taysom Hill. And Taysom Hill, I think, is a weird matchup for the Miami defense, because you can blitz the hell out of Taysom Hill. Who cares? It's not like he's taking 7-step drops and throwing the ball deep downfield. Like, they're going to put their head down, they're going to try to run, and they're going to try to win this game 13-10. So I'm kind of torn. I want to take Miami, but it feels like this is like, does Tua have Tebow juice, Geoff? Like, is he just going to ride the steam and just get these weird wins and go to the playoffs?
He might get the wins. The playoff math will still have to work out in their favor. But if you're a Dolphin fan every week where your probability to make the playoffs goes up, I guess that becomes a success. I am really looking forward to Tim spazzing, regardless of what happens in the game, win or lose, but people pointing out that Tua played better than Tom Brady versus the Dennis Allen defense.
I'm already starting to see it. But at the same point, I've also seen people say Zach played better against New Orleans than Tom Brady did 2 weeks ago. So I guess it cuts.
I don't think that anyone said that. Who said that?
Places that the Reddit boards and such. Anyway,
Jets Reddit said that, did they?
I love the Dolphins in this spot.
Oh, sure you do, Tim. Sure you do.
I love the Dolphins. I think
you know what?
Dolphins
You love the Dolphins so much, they better be on your teaser. It have to be. They have to be. No. You're trying to use your curse powers, man up, and put them on the fucking teaser.
All right, I'll put them on the teaser.
There you go.
Take them up to
Miami.
I'll keep them as well.
Miami +9 on Tim's free money teaser right now.
Get this +500 teaser in and be up bucks for the year. I like it.
I mean, if it survives to Miami, you're doing pretty good. What do you think? Let's see what the coin says. The coin says Miami. I'm going to take New Orleans, Geoff. New Orleans defense is real. Like, it's better than Miami's. It's not, they don't need to disguise blitzes and run corner blitzes and all of this just to fuck with, like, everyone else on the opposing team. Like, New Orleans just has a lockdown great defense when everyone is healthy, and it seems like everyone is healthy at the moment. So I will take the Saints. I just see Miami struggling to move the ball here.
I'm telling you, we could get to this game, guys, and Tim could be in dire straits. Like, in a scenario in which the Patriots beat the Bills, in a scenario in which Arizona has beaten Indy, in the scenario that includes the Sunday where Kansas City knocks off Pittsburgh, there will be such an opportunity for the Dolphins to, like, fully put themselves in to the playoff race.
And Davis Mills has the game of his life too. Well, let's not forget about that.
Yes,
has Davis Mills been the second most impressive rookie quarterback? I think I asked this last week. He looked pretty good last week. Honestly.
Maybe.
He almost beat
yes,
the Patriots.
I know what Jeff's about to say, but yes, the Dolphins could very easily be tied for a playoff spot after this week. And you know what? I'm sure it'll happen. I have no doubt the Dolphins win this game. I'm certain of it, indoors in a dome. How could Miami lose?
I do eventually breaking it down, do agree with Pat. For starters, it is a step up in class for what the Dolphins have gone against recently defensively. But it more comes down to the point that Pat made, that this just doesn't seem like an optimal fight for the Dolphins defense, who can bully so many teams across the league. The Saints, that just, the styles make the fight. And I think this one is going to lead to the Dolphins, but this is this will end up being Monday will be a very exciting day, because I think the game will be so paramount to both teams and the playoffs by the time Sunday wraps. So this is a game on the schedule, guys. Maybe after Bills Patriots, there might not be a game that I'm anticipating more, like from a football fan, what it might mean to the overall picture of both teams as we head to the final run.
I think Bengals Ravens is more pivotal, but yes.
I agree.
The only conversation around this game, and just proving how much of a star Tua is surrounding the Dolphins. Yeah. But like, the Saints are bad. They're tied for the last spot. Let's see. The winning percentage rests with Minnesota right now, but they're playing the Rams. Like, if the Rams beat the Vikings, and then the Saints win, the Saints are the 7 seed all of a sudden.
Oh, yeah, the Saints are the mathematical favorite to be in the playoffs because the Vikings have the Rams and the Packers left.
I mean, currently the Vikings own the tiebreaker over the Saints with,
Correct, but I'm
with
just
just
saying,
those two teams.
Yeah. I'm just saying in terms of odds of making it because of the schedules.
Yeah,
Sure.
I'm seeing the Saints sitting at a 42% probability and Minnesota at 33. But the Eagles and the Redskins, oh, damn it.
Jeff has to
Eagles
donate
and
one Herbert to charity now.
I'll do it. The Eagles and Washington both sitting at 23 and 20 respectively for that. But Washington's probably takes a big tonight. The game that hasn't played,
Whoever
I guess,
loses
changes
takes a big
that.
hit.
Yeah.
Whoever loses between Washington and Philadelphia takes a big hit tonight.
Yeah, because there would be another team that gets a 7-7 regardless, I guess, unless they tie. But it just does seem like a lot of the discourse is around Miami and not New Orleans for this game, despite the fact they're both fighting for that last playoff spot.
That could also be, Pat, you just living in your bubble surrounded by Tim and another Dolphin discourse.
No, like even when I guess because they were previewing the game for Sunday night, but like even on Football Night in America, it's like a lot of the in the hunt. Here are the highlights from this. And I guess there was no highlights to point to with the Saints. Just the Saints are really boring to talk about, I feel like. Like there's no real interest no real interest in the Saints team. Like they're running a gimmick offense with a good defense, and no one really believes in Taysom Hill, so it's just kind of weird.
And it's honestly, I feel bad that I have to spin this again back to like Tim's insane hypocrisy. But let's imagine a world, friends. Let's just imagine the universe in where, for whatever reason, some might think it's very plausible, the Jets start 1-7 next year. And then I don't care who is on their schedule. They end up at 7-7. Tim would literally be telling us that if they get in the playoffs, they're going to win the Super Bowl. And next year, you all better watch your back because he's coming.
Well, he's already
like
said
a
that.
freight train.
He's already
but
said that
Tua
about a
doing
three-win
it,
team.
And the Dolphins doing it, like, doesn't get the same risk. Like, he can't take himself to that place. But if the Jets next year and Zach Wilson rebounded in a season the way this Dolphins team has, it's unimaginable what Tim would be telling us is coming.
Well, I can actually speak to this because this is the exact conversation that we had with Tim this morning in our text thread. Because our Dolphins friend, who's just like trolling Tim at every turn at this point, who does not believe in the Dolphins and doesn't think that they're going to make the playoffs, but Tim continuously, but you constantly say, Tim, that he keeps saying that they're going to win the Super Bowl, which he tells you to trigger you and then just like laughs at you.
Oh, I get text saying, Dolphins so good going to the playoffs, etc. And I was like, okay, fine. Like, that's what everybody thinks. I get it. Whatever. I hope Zach does win 6 games in a row next year. I hope we can stress test Geoff's theory next year. I don't want them to start 1-7, but I would like to see them win 6 straight games. And I actually think the more games they win, the more even keel I'd be. Because I'd be sort of more used to them.
So let's roll back time when they beat the Bengals. And then you predicted them to lose one more game the rest of the season. We're going 3-4. Then we're going 4-4. And then you had them at like 11-4 at one point. They haven't even got to 4 fucking wins yet. That was 3 months ago.
I know. I agree. But I mean, like I said, the lack of wins, I think, causes me to be incredibly excited when they do get a win. So, we win this week. We'll have doubled our win total from last year. And, it'll be fine. I think if we were to win 6 and with that team next year, it's very possible we could go through a stretch of winning 6, 7, 8 games in a row next year. And I think the more we would win, the more I would sort of be circumspect about it. Say, it's a good win. We're keeping it going, et cetera, et cetera.
Pat, this is essentially like what happens when he goes to the corner store and buys the scratch off cherries that he gets such little luck and he wins so infrequently that when he gets you've won a free ticket, he's exuberant.
He could never, and if he won one, like he peeled that off, he wouldn't get the 3 cherries. He'd get like the 3, chocolate bars, and you win like $2 off your $1 ticket. He would then have it in his mind, like, well, I can't lose again. Like I'll always win every time that I do this. Then he'd buy like 100 more. That's how you are with everything.
No, that's not true. Now I kind of want to get a scratcher. Now you're talking about him.
Sad scene. All right. Super locks. I don't have a good. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's only 3 hours long. I don't have a good feel for who it's going to be. You know what? The only game I bet on is San Francisco. I will take San Francisco minus 3.5.
Interesting.
My only other it would have come down to, because I'll have to have a best bet. I do like a side thing for the weekend. It'll probably be Cincinnati minus 2.5.
I'll take Green Bay.
Minus 7.5. Okay. Jeffrey.
Kansas City. Extra time. Just beat down. Maybe Pittsburgh comes back and backdoors it, but no.
And to recap, Tim's free money teaser of the week: Green Bay minus 1.5, Indianapolis plus 7.5, Detroit plus 11.5, Baltimore plus 8.5, Kansas City minus 3.5, and the Miami Dolphins plus 9. Would that be it?
Yep, that's it. Bet the farm, win 5 farms.
Can I give my bet of the week though?
Is it Trevor Lawrence over 6.5 touchdowns?
Yes. Pretty much we're going all in on the whatever the standard Lawrence touchdown line is, and I'll be looking for alternate Lawrence touchdown lines.
The standard line is 0.5 since he doesn't throw touchdowns.
So then I'll crush that one.
Well, I believe it's 1.5. I actually went to go bet Zach Wilson. I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad the books didn't make it because he didn't throw an interception. I was like, oh, he's definitely going to throw an interception in this game. So I went and looked at all the quarterbacks' interception props. He was the only one that wasn't 0.5. He was 1.5.
Well, yeah, he's had some games where he's thrown way too many, but no picks the last 2 weeks. So it's going to be 3 in a row.
Ceiling incompletions on film.
Look, I know it sounds silly, but I'm right about this.
All
Well, I get what you're saying, but it's just when you're having the struggles, you can't win that, if that makes sense.
That will do it on the Pat Mayo Experience. There is a Cust Corner coming out on Saturday, which I can guarantee you more hilarious than this show. Garion brought some fire, Geoff. Garion was on point.
Good. I love the Christmas episodes. They sometimes in many ways encapsulate how they bring the craziness to a whole new level, because in many regards they're things people can relate to around the holidays.
Well, I haven't put this one out. I was going to tease this on Twitter, so I'll tease it to you right now. Without Tim's interference on this, would you say, give me a percentage, out of 100%, the people who are working at McDonald's on Christmas Day really want to be there? Which percentage of really want to be there would you say?
God damn it. 0.00.
The vast majority of people.
Double time and a half.
You don't know that's double time and a half. You were just making that up. You know that, right?
No, that doesn't mean they want to be there. That means their life circumstance requires they need the time and a half pay. That doesn't mean they want it to be there.
I think you're underestimating it.
Do you know what? I don't want to spoil the episode, but do you know what Tim's response was? Because I had the exact same reaction you did. Is that Tim likes to go to McDonald's on Christmas, so therefore, of course, they like to be there.
Well, I do.
That's Tim. That's so sad.
He also called my 85-year-old grandma who survived World War II lazy. It was a real weird episode.
No such thing.
You did. We can run that clip. You can just tune into the show on Christmas and watch it. It's in there.
No such thing.
Well, want to thank the coin. Merry Christmas, coin. I hope you have a great day. All of you out there. I hope you have a very happy holidays, very safe holidays. I hope you don't punch out your stupid uncle or something like that at Christmas time, because you know how family is. They're the worst. So, take the day off, open your presents, do your dinner, do your lunch, and then bugger off and listen to the Pat Mayo Experience and the Cust Corner feed that comes out. Geoff, safe travels. You will be on the show next week, correct?
Yes. Safe travels and Merry Christmas to everybody. I love Christmas. I love it a lot. And I'm a Jew.
Well,
This is great.
I feel like you really have the best of all worlds here because you're not obligated to do anything on Christmas. You can just take the best of Christmas and do that.
I guess, but I don't know. I still feel like we're missing at like that. People who don't celebrate Christmas like miss out. It seems like a great time. But then again, like what I'm missing are like 2 extra family dinners.
Yeah.
Not looking for that either.
Yeah, no one's looking forward to that. So once again, Geoff and I have our season preview to golf coming out next week. Part 2 of the golf draft is released on Monday. And I guess I will thank, because he is going to be on the show on Saturday, Tim Undergust.
Tim Undergust.
That's not my name. And I want to say Merry Christmas to everybody, too. Christopher Walken celebrates as well. And I just wanted to say thank you. Oh, thank you, Christopher.
Hold on. Yes. Tim, are you okay? My friend is having a stroke. I need you to get to his house right now.
It's a very good impression. It's still not as good as Walter Matthau or Lucille Ball, but it's getting there.
Why does Lucille Ball sound like Richard Nixon too? Why do all your impressions sound like Richard Nixon, except for that Christopher Walken that sounded like you're like, hey, it's me, Christopher Walken. That's what that just sounded like.
No, I don't
Like
sound
if they made you Mario like they made Chris Pratt, the Anti-Defamation League would come after you.
I think it's a pretty good impression of me when I was in a lot of different movies.
Can I hear Lucille again?
Sure, Geoff. How are you? This is Lucille Ball in like 1988, though. This is not the I Love Lucy Lucille Ball. I don't even know why I'm laughing.
Remember this moment, people, when it comes to voting most insane at the Custy Awards, which is coming very soon. I'm Pat Mayo. I'll see you next time.
Pat Mayo Experience.
Why? It's just reaction to Lucille Ball. He lose. Whew. Well, that was a quick show.
Yeah. Good times.
Experience.